Introduction. Transcendence, System Flow. Zhang Xuan traverses the primordial realm with an invincible manor system, settling in Skeleton Mountain, where he becomes neighbors with the goddess Shiji. One fateful day, a wounded celestial maiden inadvertently enters his manor. Zhang Xuan rescues her, and they fall in love, eventually welcoming 2 daughters and a son into their lives. However, after giving birth, the celestial maiden departs without a word, leaving Zhang Xuan to shoulder the responsibilities of a single father. One day, their eldest daughter, Mengmeng, plays with the goddess's child, Biyun. Suddenly, an arrow is loosed from Chentang Pass, aimed directly at Biyun. In a moment of urgency, Mengmeng releases her own arrow. The next instant, Nezha from Chentang Pass falls lifeless to the ground. Upon learning of Nezha's demise, the venerable Taiyi becomes enraged and seeks to eliminate Mengmeng. At this moment, Zhang Xuan leisurely emerges from the manor, hands behind his back, and questions, "Who dares to harm my daughter?" With a mere glance, Taiyi is obliterated into a mist of crimson. Chapter 1. The Invincible Manor. Skeleton Mountain spans an expanse of 8,000 miles. This mountain, a remnant of the ancient battle between shaman and demon, is steeped in malevolent energy, with bones piled high. Birds have vanished, and no living soul dares to traverse its terrain. Unless one specializes in the esoteric arts of malevolent energy, few would choose to reside here. Yet, there are exceptions. Amidst the oppressive aura of the peaks, a manor brimming with spiritual essence stands hidden, a striking contrast to the sinister surroundings. The manor exudes an ancient elegance, resonating with ethereal charm, sharply contrasting with the ominous atmosphere of Skeleton Mountain. At the entrance of the manor, by the riverbank, Zhang Xuan grips a fishing rod, engaged in the art of angling. Why aren't the fish biting today? Could it be another day of empty hooks? After fishing for quite some time, Zhang Xuan feels a twinge of frustration. Logically, his fishing skills should yield better results. Unbeknownst to him, within the waters, a chorus of aquatic creatures endowed with intelligence scatter at the sight of him. Quick, flee! That malevolent spirit is here to fish again. Suddenly, 2 chubby little hands cover Zhang Xuan's eyes from behind. "Guess who I am, Daddy?" With a sigh, Zhang Xuan replies, "Mengmeng, you already call me Daddy, how can I not know it's you?" "Oh, Daddy, you're so boring." The pouting Mengmeng, adorned in a red belly band with her hair styled in playful pigtails, expresses her discontent. Zhang Xuan chuckles, "You wish to go out to play, don't you?" Mengmeng's eyes widen, sparkling with anticipation. "Will you let me, Daddy?" Zhang Xuan waves his hand dismissively, "Just return before dinner." "Yay, I knew you were the best, Daddy." With a jubilant leap, Mengmeng plants a quick kiss on Zhang Xuan's cheek and dashes away. Watching her spirited departure, a smile of happiness graces Zhang Xuan's lips, though soon after, a flicker of melancholy crosses his gaze at awe. "Dear mother of my child, rest assured, once the domain of the estate expands to reach the 33rd heaven and the 10 depths of the underworld, I shall rescue you." Zhang Xuan murmured to himself. It turns out that Zhang Xuan was not a native of this world, but had traversed here from the era of the necromancers. Upon his arrival, Zhang Xuan acquired an invincible estate system. Within this estate, Zhang Xuan was an unparalleled entity. As long as he continuously completed tasks, he could expand the estate's domain. Over the course of millennia, through Zhang Xuan's persistent efforts, he finally managed to cover the entirety of Skeleton Mountain with his estate's domain. However, despite the numerous rewards acquired through his tasks, he, being a traveler from a later time, possessed no aptitude for cultivation. Even though he indulged daily in spiritual roots and fruits that could incite envy in countless mighty beings of the primordial era, he remained unable to cultivate. At best, he would have an eternal lifespan. Consequently, Zhang Xuan abandoned the notion of cultivation, waiting for the day when his estate's domain would encompass the entirety of the primordial world. By then, he believed he could rescue his beloved. During the era of necromancers, Zhang Xuan secluded himself within the estate, rarely venturing outside. One fateful day, a wounded celestial maiden stumbled into his estate, and Zhang Xuan came to her aid. As they spent time together, feelings blossomed, culminating in the birth of their love's fruit. After giving birth to 3 blood cocoons, the celestial maiden vanished without a trace, stating that she did not wish to burden Zhang Xuan and their children, but entrusted him with their care. Zhang Xuan, left with no other choice, took on the role of a devoted father. For thousands of years, he utilized the rewards from the system to continuously nurture the 3 burgeoning lives within the blood cocoons. Finally, 7 years ago, The first life emerged from its cocoon, a delicate little girl, whom Zhang Xuan named Mengmeng. As for the other two cocoons, the lives within them were still developing. However, he believed that with just a little more time spent nurturing them, they too would soon break free from their confines. With this thought in mind, Zhang Xuan reeled in his fishing rod, stood up, and carrying his basket, turned back towards the estate. Upon entering, Zhang Xuan made his way to a bedroom. In the room, he beheld two blood cocoons suspended in midair, emanating a crimson glow. Faintly, he could discern the two developing lives within the cocoons. Buzzing. As if sensing Zhang Xuan's arrival, the two small lives quivered slightly. Zhang Xuan smiled gently, reaching out to caress the cocoons, and said, "Are you hungry?" He then retrieved two golden-hued fruits from the system space, placing them beside the cocoons. Had any mighty being from the primordial realm been present, they would undoubtedly have been consumed by envy. For these two golden fruits were none other than the renowned Huang Zhongli, one of the 10 most esteemed innate spiritual roots of the primordial world. In an instant, a peculiar fragrance filled the room, and the two blood cocoons trembled with excitement, seemingly unable to contain their anticipation. "Little one, do not rush. Take your time eating," Zhang Xuan said with a smile. Though the two tiny lives had yet to enter the world, Zhang Xuan had already bestowed upon them names. The larger of the two, nestled within its blood cocoon, was a girl, aptly named Nan. The smaller, a boy, was affectionately dubbed Little One. As Zhang Xuan offered his soothing words, the two lives within the blood cocoons gradually settled down, slowly releasing strands of crimson essence that entwined around Huang Zhongli. A delicate aura, akin to unspooling silk from a cocoon, permeated the blood strands and infused the cocoons with vitality. Buzz. Nourished by this ethereal essence, the blood cocoons radiated a brilliant glow. "Rest well once you are full. I believe you will soon emerge from your cocoons." After imparting his gentle reminder, Zhang Xuan departed the bedroom to prepare Mengmeng's dinner. Meanwhile, Mengmeng made her way from the estate directly to the Bone Cave, the dwelling of the stone lady from the Jiejiao sect. Here, she had few peers her age, save for the two youthful attendants, Biyun and Kaiyun. "Hey Biyun, Kaiyun, come out to play," she called out loudly upon reaching the cave's entrance. We're coming, no need to shout." Biyun and Kaiyun rushed out from a cave, with Biyun expressing mild annoyance. "Mengmeng, how many times have I told you not to shout so loudly? If the lady hears, I might face her wrath." Mengmeng chuckled playfully. "Don't worry. Auntie Shiji is on the best of terms with my father. If she knows I'm here to play, she won't hold it against you." Her eyes suddenly brightened as she asked, "What shall we play today?" Kaiyun suggested, "Mengmeng, how about you join us in gathering herbs today?" Upon hearing this, Mengmeng clapped her hands in delight. "Great. I've always watched you gather herbs today. We'll give it a try. Just be careful, and make sure not to break the roots when picking," Kaiyun advised. Yes. I promise not to break any roots," Mengmeng declared, patting her little chest earnestly. "Then let us be off." The three of them set out together towards the cliffs behind Skull Mountain, a place renowned for its abundance of spiritual energy, second only to Zhang Xuan's estate. Chapter 2. Mengmeng's Arrow Slays Nezha. At Chentang Pass, a similarly exquisite child adorned with a collar stood atop the city ramparts. It was Nezha, the son of General Li Jing. Having slain the sea demon Li Jin and the Dragon King's third son, Ao Bing, Nezha found himself chastised by Li Jing, leaving him in a gloomy mood. Thus, he exited the rear garden and ascended the ramparts of Chentang Pass to enjoy the cool breeze. Suddenly, his gaze fell upon the Qian Kuan bow and the Zhentian arrow displayed on the weapon rack. He pondered, "My master has said I shall later serve as an advance officer to conquer the world. If I do not practice archery now, when will I? Moreover, with a bow and arrows readily available, why not put them to use?" Upon contemplating this, Nezha felt an immense joy within. Thus he seized the bow, knocked an arrow, and aimed southwest, releasing it with a resounding twang, enveloped in crimson light and swirling auspiciousness. Unbeknownst to him, this bow and arrow were the treasured relics of Chentang past the Qiankuan bow, and the Zhantian arrow handed down since the era of the Yellow Emperor's great victory over Qiyu, and no one had dared to wield them until now. Today, Nezha took hold of them, launching an arrow that reached only the depths of Skull Mountain's Bone Cave. At the rear cliff of Skull Mountain, Mengmeng accompanied the celestial youths, Biyun and Kaiyun, in gathering herbs. Experiencing this for the first time, Mengmeng felt an exhilarating sense of novelty. The three of them shared laughter, creating a joyful atmosphere upon the cliff. Suddenly, a streak of red light hurtled forth, exuding an imposing power directly towards Biyun. This red light was none other than the Zhan Tian arrow shot by Nezha. As a treasure of the human emperor, its might was beyond comprehension. A terrifying force surged forth, ripping through the void, instilling sheer terror in Biyun. In a panic, he exclaimed, "My life is forfeit." According to the original trajectory of the Fengshen Chronicles, this arrow was destined to claim Biyun's life. Mengmeng, dodge quickly, Mengmeng shouted, swiftly soaring over and extending her hand forcefully. A tempestuous power gathered in the palm of her hand. In the next moment, the Zhantian arrow was grasped directly by Mengmeng, vibrating violently with a resonating hum. Observing that the arrow still sought to break free, Mengmeng snorted coldly and commanded, "Return whence you came." With a swift flick of her wrist, she sent the arrow hurtling back through the air. On the tower of Chentang Pass, Nezha, having released an arrow, intended to descend, but was suddenly seized by a wave of trepidation. Typically audacious, he felt an inexplicable chill, as if his very life were at stake. In haste, he tumbled aside to evade the danger. Boom! Just as he evaded, the tower erupted violently, with half of the wall collapsing amidst a cloud of smoke. Nezha rose, unscathed but filled with shock and fury. Upon realizing it was the Zhan Tian arrow, his anger intensified. How outrageous! Nezha ground his teeth in fury. He was accustomed to being the one who bullied others, and never had he been the victim. Moreover, he had just been startled. Such an affront was utterly unforgivable. In his rage, Nezha wasted no time, reclaiming the Qian Kuan bow and knocking the Zhantian arrow once more. "You audacious wretch, dare shoot at me? Let me show you the consequences." Nezha's eyes blazed with fury, channeling all his strength into the Qian Kuan bow. With a sharp twang, the bowstring snapped taut, and the arrow was loosed with deadly precision. This time, Nezha unleashed 2 arrows in rapid succession, resolute in his intent to eliminate the scoundrel who had dared to target him. 2 streaks of light, entwined with flames, soared forth like twin dragons in playful combat, racing towards Skull Mountain. Biyun had yet to recover from her fright when she noticed 2 more arrows soaring towards them, their imposing force sending chills down her spine. "What shall we do?" Biyun and Kaiyun clung tightly to one another, trembling like 2 frightened quails. "Ha! Biyun, Kaiyun, why are you both so timid? Watch me." Mengmeng laughed heartily, then swiftly moved forward to shield the 2 girls. As the thunderous arrows approached, Mengmeng remained utterly composed. If it were anyone else, even a Taiyi golden immortal would retreat in trepidation. After all, the Qian Kuan bow and the thunderous arrows, though not supreme treasures, bore the essence of the human emperor Xian Yuan, making them formidable indeed. Yet Mengmeng exuded an air of tranquility, unfazed by the impending danger. It is worth noting that before Mengmeng was even born, she had been nurtured by Zhang Xuan with countless rare treasures from heaven and earth, endowing her with a physique and spiritual root of extraordinary caliber. Even without cultivation, her physical prowess surpassed that of ordinary practitioners. Moreover, Mengmeng possessed the bloodline of the ancestral shaman, further amplifying her strength and might. Biyun, Kaiyun, pay close attention. Mengmeng retrieved a bow from her personal pouch. This was no ordinary bow, it was the Hongmeng bow, a celestial artifact acquired by Zhang Xuan during his Mission Sand innate, supreme, spiritual treasure. Today, I shall emulate our shaman ancestors, the great archer Ho-Yi, and shoot down the sun. Mengmeng shouted with fervor. Her father often reminded her that she possessed not only the blood of humanity, but also that of the shamans, as her mother hailed from their lineage. Yet, despite Mengmeng's repeated inquiries, Zhang Xuan had never divulged details about her mother. Oh no, how troublesome. Suddenly, Mengmeng's expression shifted, and she sheepishly turned to Biyun and Kaiyun, saying, "I rushed out today and left my Hongmeng arrows at home. Do you have any arrows you could lend me?" Upon hearing this, Biyun and Kaiyun were momentarily stunned. How could she be so forgetful? This was no time for blunders. Why wise? Kaiyun stammered, hastily producing several arrows from her spatial pouch. These arrows, crafted from the bones of the skeleton mountain by Lady Shiji, were hardly treasures. Mengmeng weighed one in her hand, shaking her head too light. But it will have to do. Then, she knocked the bone arrow onto the Hongmeng bow. Whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, 2 bone arrows shot forth, slicing through the air to meet the incoming thunderous arrows. On the city walls of Chentang Pass, witnessing Mengmeng's reckless act of shooting arrows, Nezha couldn't help but sneer. A mere mortal bow dares to confront the thunderous arrows? How absurd. Nezha's face was one of disdain. To him, Mengmeng was merely imitating without understanding. However, in the next moment, Nezha's expression shifted to one of sheer terror. Boom! Boom! In the vast expanse of sky, four arrows collided with a thunderous impact, unleashing a terrifying blaze of light. What followed was a scene that left Nezha utterly astonished. The tremor arrow was pierced by the bone arrow, exploding yet retaining its formidable momentum as it hurtled towards the city tower of Chentang Pass. What? Nezha gasped, a cold sweat breaking out across his body. He watched as two beams of white light sliced through the heavens, the air crackling with explosive sound as they approached him. In that moment, Nezha was engulfed in confusion and dread. Despite possessing great magical prowess, he found himself unable to evade, as though ensnared by an invisible force that rendered him immobile. Unbeknownst to him, this was the terrifying aspect of the Mengmeng bow, capable of locking onto a target and immobilizing it, leaving only the grim anticipation of being struck. "Master, save me!" Nezha cried out in despair as he beheld the two menacing arrows closing in. Yet, Taiyi Zhenren did not materialize, leaving Nezha to helplessly witness the arrows pierce through his very being. In an instant, Nezha's body erupted in a gruesome explosion of flesh and blood. Chapter 3. The arrival of Taiyi at Skeleton Mountain. At the precipice behind Skeleton Mountain, Mengmeng waited for a moment, yet no arrows came flying towards her. With a disdainful scoff, she remarked, "Is that all? Afraid to show up again?" She then turned to Biyun and Kaiyun, saying, "All right, you need not fear anymore. That person will not dare to shoot again." Little did Mengmeng know, she had already struck down Nezha. Biyun, recovering from her fright, exclaimed to Mengmeng, "Oh dear, Mengmeng, I owe you my life today, otherwise I might have perished." Kaiyun chimed in, "Indeed. When that first arrow flew, I thought Biyun was finished. Mengmeng, we are so grateful to you." With a sense of camaraderie, Mengmeng patted her chest and replied, "What is there to thank? We are companions. Shall we continue gathering herbs?" The three of them then resumed their foraging, filled with joy and laughter. It was not until dusk that Mengmeng returned to the estate. That evening, Zhang Xuan prepared Mengmeng's favorite dish, braised Crucian carp. Although he had not caught any fish that day, he simply purchased one from the market at the foot of the mountain. After their meal, Zhang Xuan ventured out again to fish. He preferred night fishing to daytime excursions. Meanwhile, Nan entered the bedroom where the blood cocoons were kept. "Nan, little one." Upon entering, Mengmeng exclaimed with exuberance, "Today, I achieved something remarkable. It seems I have vanquished a villain. That rogue dared to attempt to kill Biyun." She rambled excitedly beside the blood cocoons, which occasionally trembled and emitted a crimson glow, as if responding to her words. After chatting with her younger siblings for a while, Mengmeng retreated to her room to meditate. Mengmeng's cultivation method was no ordinary practice. It was the 9 turns of Xian Yuan, a reward Zhang Xuan obtained from completing a task. This technique, originating from the Panga deity, involves the simultaneous cultivation of both the physical body and the primordial spirit. Though Zhang Xuan lacked the aptitude for cultivation, Mengmeng possessed exceptional talent. There was a sound rationale behind Zhang Xuan's decision to have her practice the 9 turns of Xian Yuan. The malevolent energy at Skeleton Mountain was exceedingly dense, and with Mengmeng's lineage of the witch tribe, she was particularly suited to absorb this energy to strengthen her physical form. On Qianyuan Mountain, within the Golden Light Cave, Taiyi Zhenren awakened from his meditative state. He mused to himself, "I suppose Shiji will come seeking retribution." In the era of the Heavenly Sovereign, the 12 golden immortals of the Chan sect had committed grievous acts, and now, to survive the calamity of the Fengshen, they must navigate through the tribulations of slaughter to eliminate their past karmic debts. Both Taiyi Zhenren and the other disciples of the Chan sect were required to accept disciples to shield themselves from disaster. All disciples had to face the tribulation. Should any perish, they would have served as shields against the calamities brought by the 12 golden immortals of the Chan sect. Nezha was destined to bear the brunt of the tribulation for Taiyi Zhenren, who had long foreseen Nezha's fate. According to the passage of time, by this moment, Nezha should have already slain Li Gan and Ao Bing, and with the Chinquan Bao, he has also shot down the young spirit of Biyun, who serves under Lady Shiji. Upon learning of these events, Lady Shiji would undoubtedly come seeking retribution. Meanwhile, Taiyi Zhenren had also prepared to confront Lady Shiji, even contemplating her demise. As the wave of killings approached, the act of murder would bear no karmic repercussions. However, after waiting with bated breath, Lady Shiji did not make her anticipated appearance, leaving Taiyi Zhenren bewildered. "This is odd. Why has Lady Shiji not come to hold me accountable?" In an instant, a cloud of sorrow enveloped Taiyi Zhenren's mind. He was on the verge of consuming his own essence blood to deduce the situation when, suddenly, a ghostly figure staggered into his cave abode. "Master!" the spirit cried out, overwhelmed with grief. "What? Nezha?" Upon recognizing Nezha, Taiyi Zhenren was taken aback and hurriedly asked, "How could you have perished at this moment?" With a heart full of sorrow, Nezha recounted the events. Taiyi Zhenren, after hearing this, was struck with shock and swiftly resolved to expend his essence blood for divination. In the midst of calamity, ordinary calculations would yield little. True divination would necessitate the sacrifice of one's vital essence, albeit at a cost to the practitioner's foundation. However, considering the gravity of his pupil's plight, Taiyi Zhenren disregarded the risks and directly sacrificed his essence blood for the calculations. What? Skull Mountain? A girl has slain Nezha? Taiyi Zhenren was filled with dread. Yet, he could not ascertain the origins of this girl. It must be under the influence of Lady Shiji. Taiyi Zhenren's countenance darkened significantly. Then, with a cold smirk, he remarked, Well, I had intended to scheme against you, Lady Shiji, yet I find myself ensnared by your own machinations. How infuriating. Initially, Taiyi Zhenren aimed to outmaneuver Lady Shiji, but unexpectedly, he fell victim to her stratagem. It was truly a case of the hunter becoming the hunted. Filled with both astonishment and fury, Taiyi Zhenren summoned the Golden Cloud Child, instructing him to pluck 2 lotus flowers from the 5 lotus pool and 3 lotus leaves. The Golden Cloud Child placed the leaves and flowers upon the ground. Taiyi Zhenren arranged the flower petals into a triad formation and fashioned the stems of the lotus leaves into 300 joints, designating them as heaven, earth, and humanity. He then placed a golden elixir at the center, employing primordial techniques and the circulation of qi to separate the dragon, the tortoise, and the tiger, thereby binding Nezha's spirit and urging it towards the lotus. Nezha, if you do not take form, when will you? With a resounding sound, a figure leaped forth, his face resembling powdered silk, lips akin to painted vermilion, eyes shimmering with vitality, and standing a height of 6 feet. This was Nezha, transformed from the lotus. Greetings, Master, Nezha bowed respectfully. Then, with clenched teeth, he exclaimed, Master, that girl is truly despicable. We must avenge my death. Taiyi Zhenren nodded and responded, First, accompany me to the peach garden. Upon reaching the peach garden, Taiyi Zhenren bestowed upon Nezha the fire-tipped spear, the wind and fire wheels, the Qiankuan circle, the mysterious sky silken ribbon, the golden brick, and the spiritual talismans. Thank you, Master, Nezha expressed his gratitude. Nezha rejoiced and said to his master, Master, I shall take my vengeance immediately. With that, he grasped his fiery spear and set forth on the wind-fire wheels, determined to reach Skull Mountain. Yet, he was intercepted by Taiyi Zhenren, who declared, Skull Mountain is guarded by Shiji. You are no match for her. It is best that I handle this. Return to Chentang Pass and await further orders. With no alternative, Nezha acquiesced. As you wish, Master. He then departed for Chentang Pass. Taiyi Zhenren, riding on a cloud, surged towards Skull Mountain with great fury. The impending slaughter demanded the demise of all disciples, yet Nezha should not meet his end in such a manner. Taiyi Zhenren's wrath was palpable. The death of Nezha had utterly disrupted his plans. How could he remain calm? Shiji, I swear I shall slay you. Taiyi Zhenren bellowed. Soon, he arrived at the White Bone Cave on Skull Mountain. Shiji, come forth. Taiyi Zhenren roared, causing the very ground of Skull Mountain to tremble. With a swish, Shiji, clad in flowing white garments and with hair billowing like silk, emerged from her abode. Upon recognizing Taiyi, her fury ignited. Taiyi, if you wish to rage, take it to Kunlun Mountain. Do not come to my cave and make a ruckus, she scolded with a delicate yet fierce tone. Chapter 4. Scheming against Taiyi Zhenren asserted, Shiji, you have permitted your disciples to slay my apprentice Nezha, and now you deny me my fury. At these words, Shiji furrowed her brow. Taiyi, what do you mean? When did I allow my disciples to kill your apprentice? Taiyi sneered. Shiji, are you now denying your own actions? If you doubt me, summon your disciples and inquire. The truth will reveal itself. Seeing Taiyi's unwavering conviction, Shiji became suspicious. Her disciples were typically obedient and lacked the strength to confront Nezha. She then called out with authority, Biyun, Kaiyun, come before me at once. Her voice echoed throughout Skull Mountain. Before long, Biyun and Kaiyun arrived. We greet you, mistress, they said, bowing in unison. Shiji inquired, did you two shoot down Taiyi's disciple Nezha? Biyun and Kaiyun exchanged glances, shaking their heads vehemently. No, we did not. Shiji turned to Taiyi, saying, Taiyi, did you hear that? They did not harm Nezha. Taiyi Zhenren's brow furrowed further as he admonished. You two children dare to deceive me? You have slain my disciple, yet you refuse to acknowledge it? Do you believe I will not cast your souls into the depths of the underworld, ensuring you never find rebirth? Biyun and Kaiyun trembled in fear, retreating behind Shiji as they pleaded, Mistress, we truly did not shoot Nezha. We do not even know who he is. Witnessing their fear, Shiji frowned even deeper. She then turned to Taiyi, saying, Taiyi, dear brother, could there be a misunderstanding in all this? At her words, Taiyi hesitated, pondering the situation. Shiji, however, I, as a humble practitioner, have relentlessly expended my essence to ascertain that my disciple Nezha was indeed slain by an arrow shot by a youth from Skull Mountain. If you do not believe me, you may calculate it yourself, Taiji remarked. Shiji pondered. Could this be Taiji's scheme against her? It is well known that a practitioner's depletion of essence cannot be restored in a mere day or two. Suddenly, she caught sight of the bashful expression on the face of the child from Biyun, and with a furrowed brow, she exclaimed, Biyun, has something transpired recently that you have concealed from me? Thud. Biyun and Kaiyun, frightened, knelt down. Kaiyun spoke, Your Highness, we truly do not know who Nezha is. However, some days ago, while collecting herbs in Mengmeng Mountain with Biyun, an arrow suddenly shot from Chentang Pass. At that moment, Biyun nearly lost her life. And it was Mengmeng who intervened to block the arrow. Biyun hastily added, Yes, Your Highness. That day, my life was almost extinguished, thanks to Mengmeng. Speaking of which, the people from Chentang Pass are indeed despicable, shooting at me without discernment. Later, they shot 2 more arrows. Mengmeng, incensed, retaliated with 2 arrows of her own. As for whether the villain from Chentang Pass perished, we do not know. We implore Your Highness to discern. Upon hearing this, Shiji was instantly filled with fury. With her astuteness, how could she not comprehend the unfolding events from Biyun and Tsayun's words? It was undoubtedly Nezha from Chentang Pass who had aimed to kill Biyun with an arrow, and it was only thanks to Mengmeng's timely intervention that Biyun's life was spared. Taiji, you have gone too far. Shiji glared at Taiji and rebuked, It was your disciple Nezha who sought to slay my child. Yet you dare to come forth and accuse others? Upon hearing this, Taiyi Zhenren displayed no hint of remorse. Rather, doubt began to creep into his mind. Was it not Biyun and her companions who had slain Nezha? Mengmeng? Who might that be? Could it be a child from some celestial family? Yet, within an 8,000-mile radius of Skull Mountain, aside from Shiji, there was only the one Chiyu Shinma Yuan. No others existed. Sister Shiji, it seems I have been rather presumptuous. I owe you an apology, Taiyi Zhenren stated. Taiyi Zhenren, of course, did not genuinely apologize. He sought to uncover the true culprit behind Nezha's demise before finding a pretext to eliminate Shiji, thus completing the cycle of slaughter. Unaware of Taiji's intentions, Shiji mistakenly believed his apology to be sincere. Therefore, she replied, Since the misunderstanding is resolved, let this matter rest. Although Shiji felt anger, Nezha was indeed dead. Even if Biyun was not the one who killed him, a price had been paid. Currently, although the Chan and Jie sects were at odds, they had not yet reached the point of irreconcilable enmity. Shiji did not wish for the conflict between the 2 sects to escalate due to her. Moreover, her master, the Tongtian, had once said that during the cycle of slaughter, one must avoid causing further strife. Suddenly, Taiyi Zhenren inquired, Sister Shiji, who is this Mengmeng that Biyun mentioned? Upon hearing this, Shiji was momentarily taken aback, her willow-like brows knitting together. Shiji had never anticipated that it was Mengmeng who had slain Nezha. This chain of events could hardly end well. However, considering Zhang Xuan from Lingyun Manor was no ordinary individual, he found solace in that thought. If Taiyi refrained from seeking out the culprit, it was best. Should he come knocking, it would likely result in dire consequences. Thus, he replied, to be candid. Taiyi, Mengmeng is the daughter of the esteemed Zhang Xuan, the master of Lingyun Manor, and she is merely 7 years old. Zhang Xuan? Taiyi furrowed his brow upon hearing the name. When did such a figure emerge in the wilderness? Shiji, who exactly is this Zhang Xuan? Taiyi inquired cautiously, unwilling to act recklessly without understanding the other party's background. Shiji smiled slightly and replied, Taiyi, that Zhang Xuan is merely a carefree wanderer among the mountains. If you seek vengeance for your disciple, it would be prudent for you to see for yourself. Aware that one must avoid entanglements in the midst of calamity, she cleverly maneuvered Taiyi into a predicament. It was not as if she had directly instigated his downfall through Zhang Xuan. Given Taiyi's temperament, he would undoubtedly not let Mengmeng's act against Nezha go unpunished. It would be wiser to let Taiyi confront Zhang Xuan to resolve this matter, thus avoiding the repercussions of the killing calamity. Upon hearing this, Taiyi took his leave, having already resolved that regardless of Zhang Xuan's origin, he must demand an explanation. This time, he could not hold Shiji accountable. his wrath would be redirected towards Zhang Xuan. Shortly thereafter, Taiyi arrived at the mountainside. He gazed upwards and was astonished to see a magnificent and ethereal manor nestled within the landscape. The presence of such celestial charm amidst the ominous aura of Skull Mountain was truly shocking. Could it possibly be a treasure? As this thought crossed his mind, his heart ignited with fervor. If it were not a treasure, how could it exude such spiritual essence in this malevolent locale? He was determined to discover who Zhang Xuan truly was. With a murmured resolve, he swiftly approached the manor's entrance. Raising his eyes, he noted the grand inscription Lingyun Manor prominently displayed. "Hey, old man, who are you, loitering at my doorstep?" Suddenly, a crisp and youthful voice rang out. "Are you perhaps here to steal something?" At the sound of the voice, Taiyi squinted slightly and saw before him a little girl clad in a red apron. Her hair styled in playful pigtails, resembling a porcelain doll. Her delicate face was fair and radiant, her skin so supple it seemed as if it might yield water. "Little one, who might you be?" Taiyi inquired, feigning ignorance, fully aware that this girl was the true culprit behind his beloved disciple Nezha's demise. "Indeed," the innocent and cheerful Mengmeng replied. "Me? My name is Mengmeng. This is my home. Are you here to steal something?" Taiyi suppressed the impulse to strike down this child and, with forced amusement, asked, "Mengmeng, you say? Splendid. Is your guardian present? Since the intent is to kill and to seize treasures, one must eradicate all traces. Not only must the young girl before them be eliminated, but the so-called Zhang Zenren must also be dispatched." Chapter 5. The great master Taiyi was stunned. In the midst of this slaughter, where killing bore no karmic repercussions, the great master Taiyi was certainly unperturbed. Moreover, given that Nezha had already met his demise once, serving as a shield against the calamity for Taiyi, the latter was even less inclined to hesitate. "Hey, I ask you, are you here to steal something?" Mengmeng, with her tiny hands planted firmly on her hips, glared at the great master Taiyi, her cheeks puffed up in indignation. The great master Taiyi smiled slightly and replied, "Little girl, you are mistaken. I am a true practitioner of morality from Kunlun Mountain, the great master Taiyi. How could I engage in such despicable acts as thievery? I have come to pay a visit to Zhang Zenren." Though his words conveyed innocence, Taiyi's heart secretly scoffed. "I am not here to steal. I am here to seize." "Huh, a visit? To my father?" Mengmeng was momentarily taken aback. Indeed, young friend. Might I inquire if your father is at home?" The great master Taiyi said with a beaming smile. Mengmeng scrutinized him with suspicion, asking, "Are you truly here to visit my father?" "Of course," Taiyi affirmed with a nod, and then inquired, "Is Zhang Zenren at home?" Being a child at heart, Mengmeng was wary of strangers. However, the great master Taiyi appeared ethereal and noble, not resembling a villain. Thus, she replied, "Great master Taiyi, my father has gone fishing by the river. Since you are genuinely here for a visit, why not come inside the manor and wait? My dear friend, how kind of you." The great master Taiyi shook his feather duster and gracefully entered the manor. Suddenly, a thunderous roar echoed as a colossal creature charged towards them, exhaling wind and thunder from its mouth and nostrils. Upon closer inspection, Mengmeng realized it was a beast with 9 lion heads. "Wow, how impressive!" Mengmeng exclaimed, her excitement causing her to dance with glee. She had always wanted her father to catch her a pet, but the desolate area around Skull Mountain was largely devoid of life. Although there were some exotic beasts, none had caught her fancy until now. Seeing the 9-headed lion, her eyes sparkled with delight. "Impudent creature!" The great master Taiyi suddenly bellowed at the 9-headed lion. "This is the residence of Zhang Zenren. How dare you make such a ruckus? Depart at once." It turned out that the 9-headed lion was none other than Taiyi's steed, the 9 spirits primordial sage. "Old man, this lion looks so magnificent. Can I have it as a pet?" Mengmeng eagerly inquired. A flicker of disdain crossed the great master Taiyi's eyes. "A pet for you? Do you believe yourself worthy? This is a beast of the great Luo Jingxian realm." Though he thought this, Taiyi replied, "It is indeed possible. However, this beast, the 9 spirits primordial sage, possesses a fierce nature. I fear you may not be able to tame it." Taiyi's heart was filled with contempt. The 9 spirits primordial sage was a creature he had subdued after great effort during his travels through the primordial chaos. "You, a being born the day after tomorrow, dare to entertain the notion of keeping the 9 spirits as a pet? How absurd! Is this your intention?" Hearing this, Mengmeng widened her eyes in curiosity and inquired, "So, if I can tame it, does that mean it will become my pet?" Naturally, Taiyi did not believe that a mere child could subdue a being of the Luo Jingxian realm. With a dismissive chuckle, he replied, "Of course, provided you can actually tame it." With this, Mengmeng stroked her chin thoughtfully before suddenly darting in front of the 9 spirits. Before either the nine spirits or Taiyi could react, she struck one of the lion heads with a solid punch. The head recoiled at the impact, spewing forth a spray of golden blood, causing the nine spirits to howl in pain. In shock and anger, the creature cursed the girl for her lack of honor, lamenting that it wasn't prepared for such an ambush. Taiyi, witnessing this scene, stood dumbfounded, his heart racing with astonishment. This girl was no ordinary child. In an instant, a thought struck Taiyi. Just as he was grappling with disbelief, Mengmeng had already mounted the back of the nine spirits, raining down punches like a torrential downpour. The creature howled in agony, its 9 lion heads drenched in blood. "Oh dear, don't kill it. I still need it as a pet," she exclaimed, suddenly halting her assault and turning back to Taiyi. "Old man, does this mean I have tamed it now?" Gazing at the 9 spirits, which lay on the ground, barely clinging to life, Taiyi couldn't help but twitch his lips. With a forced smile, he replied, "Of course. From this moment on, this extraordinary beast shall serve as your pet." Reluctantly, he uttered these words, knowing he could not retract them without tarnishing his reputation as a righteous cultivator. "Humph. I'll concede for now, but I shall deal with you and your father later. 9 spirits," he thought to himself. Although Mengmeng appeared formidable, Taiyi still regarded her with disdain. After all, he was a Hunyuan Jingxian, a being of considerable might. How could he fear a mere child? The only reason he did not eliminate her on the spot was that he wished to wait for Zhang Xuan to return, so he could capture them all at once. Subsequently, Mengmeng presented a spirit fruit to the 9 spirits, declaring, "From now on, you shall be my pet. Whoever dares to bully you will answer to my name. I am Zhang Mengmeng," she proclaimed proudly. Upon consuming the spirit fruit, the 9 spirits felt its injuries healing at an astonishing rate. In just over 10 seconds, it had completely recovered. The creature was taken aback, feeling a tumultuous wave of shock. Could it be that the fruit she fed it was the Huanghongli, the foremost among the 10 innate supreme spirit roots? Not only does it enhance one's cultivation, but it also possesses remarkable efficacy in healing injuries. Juling was elated by this discovery. Perhaps becoming the pet of this young girl is not such a bad thing after all. Meanwhile, Taiyi Zhenren paid no heed to Mengmeng and Juling, instead meandering through the Lingyun Manor. Taiyi was intrigued as to why the malevolent aura of Skull Mountain pervaded. Yet this manor was suffused with spiritual energy. This seemed utterly irrational. Soon, Taiyi comprehended the reason, standing transfixed in place. He discovered that within the orchard of the manor, there thrived a Huanghongli fruit tree. However, this was not what astonished Taiyi the most. What truly amazed him was that alongside the Huanghongli, there also stood a Wuzinsong. The Wuzinsong is likewise one of the 10 most exceptional innate spiritual roots. Most crucially, adjacent to the Huanghongli and Wuzinsong, there lay a lotus pond. Its waters entirely comprised of the San Guang divine water. Taiyi Zhenren was utterly astounded. No wonder the spiritual energy of this manor was so potent. With 2 of the 10 exceptional innate spiritual roots and a pond of San Guang divine water, it would be strange if the energy were not overwhelming. In an instant, Taiyi's heart ignited with fervor once more. This manor is a veritable treasure trove. Beyond the Huanghongli, Wuzinsong, and San Guang divine water, Taiyi even beheld dozens of spiritual treasures casually strewn about in the corners of the manor. Astonishingly, among these treasures, there were nearly 10 innate supreme spiritual artifacts. Taiyi was flabbergasted. A tempest of emotions surged within him. Are these spiritual treasures being treated as mere refuse? Such reckless wastefulness is unfathomable. Yet, unbeknownst to Taiyi, these treasures were all acquired by Zhang Xuan during his tasks. For Zhang Xuan, who was unable to cultivate, these treasures were of no use. They were merely toys for Mengmeng to play with. Chapter 6. Taiyi reduced to a wild donkey. The tumultuous waves of emotion surged within Taiyi. Who exactly is this Zhang Xuan? Why have I never heard of him? Taiyi is considered one of the earliest innate beings. Yet he had not even heard a whisper of Zhang Xuan's deeds. This left Taiyi in a state of uncertainty. What does it matter? When he returns, I shall deal with him. A glint of cold light flickered in Taiyi's eyes, as if he had made a resolute decision. Such a plethora of treasures within this manor. If not seized, one might invite divine retribution. Supreme innate spiritual treasures. Currently, Taiyi possessed but a mere Jiolong divine fire shield. Within this manor, there were at least 10, rivaling those left by the Dao ancestor at the dividing treasure cliff. In the courtyard, Mengmeng had just finished reprimanding Juling. From now on, you shall be called Da Huang. Do you hear me? Mengmeng stated in a tone of admonishment. Roar. Juling bared its teeth in protest, as if to say, impossible. I, the mighty 9-headed lion, an extraordinary creature of the primordial world, cannot possibly be treated as a dog. Thud. Protests are futile. Mengmeng declared without hesitation, striking one of the 9 spirits, a lion, squarely on the head with a chestnut. Fiercely, she proclaimed, "From now on, you shall be called Dahuang. Be obedient, and I shall reward you with fruits. Should you disobey, I will thrash you daily. Do you understand?" The 9 spirits howled in pain, nodding vigorously like a chick pecking at grain, indicating comprehension. "That's more like it," Mengmeng cheered, skipping joyfully toward the orchard. "Hey, old man, you mustn't pluck the fruits from the orchard recklessly," Mengmeng warned. "Father said that these fruits bloom in one cycle, bear fruit in another, ripen in yet another, and can only be enjoyed in the last. They are very precious. You mustn't pick them carelessly, or else I will be punished by father." Upon hearing this, Taiyi chuckled awkwardly. "Of course, I would never engage in such thievery." His eyes darted as he inquired, "Little Mengmeng, do you know when your father will return?" Mengmeng shook her head. "I don't know. Father always comes back late after fishing." Upon hearing this, Taiyi decided he would not wait any longer. He resolved to eliminate the little girl first. A glint of murderous intent flashed across his face as he approached Mengmeng. "What are you doing?" Noticing Taiyi's menacing aura, Mengmeng furrowed her brow. Taiyi dropped his facade, grinning wickedly as he declared, "You little wretch, for killing my disciple, I shall take your life." As he spoke, a ball of fire began to coalesce in his palm. "Ah, so you harbor ill intentions?" Mengmeng retorted angrily. "You little wretch. Die." Taiyi, uninterested in further dialogue, raised his hand to unleash the fireball. "Who dares to harm my daughter?" At that moment, a calm voice resonated. Taiyi abruptly turned around. Halting his actions, there stood a figure at the entrance of the manor, clad in white. His eyes sparkled like stars, his countenance chiseled as if carved from stone. Long hair cascading over his shoulders, and his stature tall and graceful, akin to jade. He held a fishing rod and basket. "Father!" Mengmeng exclaimed, rushing toward Zhang Xuan. He set aside his tools and enveloped Mengmeng in his arms. "Father, that old man is not a good person. He wants to kill me," she exclaimed. At her words, a flicker of killing intent flashed in Zhang Xuan's eyes. "Mengmeng, go inside and play with your siblings. Father will prepare dinner shortly," he instructed gently. Okay, father," Mengmeng replied, leaping from his embrace and darting into the house. Zhang Xuan then turned his cold gaze toward Taiyi. At that moment, Taiyi scrutinized Zhang Xuan in return. As he examined him, confusion washed over Taiyi. The man before him appeared utterly ordinary, devoid of any trace of magical energy, indistinguishable from a mere mortal. If one were to highlight a singular virtue, it would be the man's strikingly handsome visage. However, amidst the celestial chaos of gods and spirits, what advantage does good looks confer? Taiyi Zhenren was filled with uncertainty. Could this individual truly be the master of the estate? How could such an ordinary mortal possess a domain akin to a treasure trove? This was utterly unreasonable, profoundly so. With a heart full of doubt, Taiyi Zhenren inquired, "Are you Zhang Zhenren?" Zhang Xuan, his expression devoid of emotion, replied, "Indeed, I am the one you seek. You may also refer to me as Zhang Jusher." Upon hearing this, Taiyi Zhenren let out a cold laugh, his disdain evident as he remarked, "A mere mortal like you dares to claim the title of Zhenren or Jusher." Zhang Xuan chose to disregard Taiyi Zhenren's derision and stated directly, "Since you wish to harm my daughter, then prepare to meet your demise." With that, he cast a piercing gaze in Taiyi Zhenren's direction. Before Taiyi Zhenren could react, he suddenly exploded into a cloud of crimson mist. A wisp of primordial spirit escaped, leaving Taiyi Zhenren in a state of shock and horror. He was left dumbfounded. This individual was undeniably a common mortal, yet with but a glance, he had extinguished his very existence. A tempest of fear surged within Taiyi Zhenren, his primordial spirit trembling as it curled up in a corner of the estate. Quaking in terror, he realized that his spirit seemed to be bound, unable to escape the confines of this estate. What kind of sorcery was this? Surely, only a saint could wield such power. "Taiyi Zhenren, you dared to harbor murderous intent towards my daughter. I initially intended to reduce you to dust and consign your soul to the abyss." Zhang Xian's voice cut through the air coldly, "But that would be too lenient. Instead, I shall bind your primordial spirit to the body of a donkey, and you will henceforth guard the gates of this estate. Should you dare to feel discontent, your soul shall be shattered." As he spoke, Zhang Xuan gestured, summoning a wild black donkey that had been foraging in the mountains into the estate. With another wave of his hand, Taiyi Zhenren's primordial spirit was forced into the donkey's body. The creature emitted a wretched and despairing bray. Unfazed, Zhang Xuan strode forth, and in the blink of an eye, he stood at the entrance of the bone cave. A terrifying aura enveloped the bone cave. Stone Ji pays her respects to Zhenren Zhang. Stone Ji, fully familiar with Zhang Xian's presence, emerged from her dwelling and bowed. At that moment, Her heart raced with apprehension, for she could sense Zhang Xuan's wrath. Beads of sweat trickled down her fair and delicate forehead. Now, Zhang Xuan had expanded the domain of his estate to encompass the entirety of Skull Mountain. He was acutely aware of every occurrence within its bounds, whether it was Nezha shooting arrows, Mengmeng retaliating against Nezha, or Taiyi Zhenren's arrival and his conversation with Stone Ji. Nothing could escape Zhang Xuan's perception. Stone Ji's machinations against Taiyi, redirecting the focus onto him, could not have been lost on Zhang Xuan. This maneuver was undoubtedly intended to leverage his power to eliminate Taiyi. In truth, slaying Taiyi would not be entirely unacceptable for Zhang Xuan. However, if Shiji were to find him, he would not refuse to lend her a hand, given their proximity as neighbors. Yet, Shiji chose to directly lead Taiyi to the estate. And Taiyi harbored murderous intent towards Mengmeng. Such a situation was intolerable for Zhang Xuan, for his daughter was his cherished heart, and he could not allow her to suffer even the slightest harm. Chapter 7. Nezha slays the child of colorful clouds Shiji. There is no need for me to elaborate further, Zhang Xuan stated calmly, his tone gentle. Yet, to Shiji's ears, it sent shivers down her spine. A subtle pressure enveloped her, as if a mountain had settled upon her back. Such an overwhelming presence was something Shiji had only felt in the presence of saints. Since the emergence of Lingyun Manor at Skull Mountain, Shiji had sensed that the individual before her was extraordinary. She suspected that Zhang Xuan was likely a powerhouse of saintly caliber. The origins and realm of Zhang Xuan were matters she dared not inquire about or even mention. All she knew was that to live peacefully at Skull Mountain, she must not provoke Zhang Xuan. Your Reverence has misunderstood, Shiji exclaimed, dropping to her knees with a thud. Nezha from Chentang Pass sought to slay my disciple, only to be saved and subsequently killed by Mengmeng. Taiyi, unable to bear this, came looking for trouble with me. I intended to confront Taiyi, but with Nezha now deceased, I had to abandon the thought. Knowing that Taiyi is fiercely protective, he will undoubtedly pursue you at all costs. Thus, I felt it prudent to inform him of the affairs at Lingyun Manor, to avoid entanglement in this karma and resolve it sooner, which would also benefit Mengmeng. We find ourselves amidst a calamity, and it would be unwise for us to partake in acts of killing. I confess, I harbored a small selfish desire for you to eliminate Taiyi. Please forgive me. Shiji trembled in trepidation, beads of sweat cascading from her fair and smooth forehead. Even in the presence of her master, Tongtian, she had never felt such fear. Upon hearing this, Zhang Xuan replied, considering our neighborly ties and the fact that Mengmeng holds you in some regard, I shall allow this once, but it shall not happen again. With that, he turned and departed. Thank you, Your Reverence, Shiji responded. Upon returning to the manor, Zhang Xuan immediately sensed an expansion of his domain. At the same time, a notification echoed in his mind, indicating the completion of a daily fishing task. Domain range expanded by 100 meters. Reward, Enlightenment Tea Tree. Completing such tasks not only broadened the scope of his domain, but also yielded corresponding rewards. The tasks varied, including farming, fishing, and raising pets, with rewards ranging from spiritual treasures and roots to elixirs and secret tomes. Zhang Xuan had long grown accustomed to this and paid it little mind. Arriving at the plantation, he wasted no time in planting the Enlightenment Tea Tree. Currently, the plantation boasted 3 innate superior spiritual roots, Huangzhong Li, Wuzhen Song, and the newly planted Enlightenment Tea Tree. As for the exceptional and mediocre spiritual roots, they are countless. Over the thousands of years, Zhang Xuan has lost count of the rewards he has received, becoming rather numb to it all. Regrettably, despite the passage of time, he has yet to acquire a treasure capable of transforming his innate qualities, which leaves him with a sense of lamentation. Each day, he is relegated to the monotonous repetition of tasks, gradually expanding his domain. Though the rate of this expansion is slow, Zhang Xuan firmly believes that diligence shall yield its rewards. Sooner or later, his domain will encompass the entirety of the primordial realm, reaching the 33 heavens above and the 9 underworlds below. At that point, he will be able to enter the netherworld and rescue his beloved from the shackles of the heavenly Tao, liberated from the constraints of the underworld to live joyfully with himself and their children. Indeed, the celestial maiden he once saved is none other than Hutu, one of the 12 ancestral witches, now known as the Lady of Tranquility in the underworld. Zhang Xuan refrained from revealing her identity to Mengmeng, fearing that the child might recklessly venture into the underworld upon learning the truth. Although Zhang Xuan is invincible, omniscient, and omnipotent within his domain, beyond its confines, he is but an ordinary being, a frail member of the human race. Even the weakest cultivator in the primordial realm could easily extinguish him. Father. At that moment, Mengmeng emerged from the house and, spotting Zhang Xuan busy in the orchard, rushed over. "Father, what kind of tree is this?" she inquired, her large, beautiful eyes filled with curiosity. Zhang Xuan smiled and replied, "This is the enlightenment tea. Mengmeng, once I finish planting it, you will be able to cultivate beneath the enlightenment tea tree every day." Upon hearing this, Mengmeng's little face fell. "Huh? Cultivate?" Zhang Xian's expression grew stern as he said, "Mengmeng, adjust your mindset. Do you still wish to rescue your mother?" At this, Mengmeng nodded vigorously, as if pecking at grains. "Yes. I think about it all the time. I want to save my mother." Zhang Xuan nodded and admonished, "Since you desire it, do not be lazy and play all day." Mengmeng stuck out her little tongue and replied, "All right, father. I dislike it when you are so serious." With that, she skipped away to play with De Huang. At the entrance, a black wild donkey, with its head drooping, was mesmerized by the enlightenment tea Zhang Xuan had planted. Heavens, who exactly is this Zhang Xuan? It pondered. The Huangzhong Li and Five Needle Pine were not enough, and now there's more enlightenment tea. In the eyes of Taiyi Zhenren, envy and despair mingled. Trapped within this estate, he had no inkling of when he might escape. "Master, please come and rescue your disciple," Taiyi lamented internally, while outwardly he emitted braying sounds of ah. Meanwhile, in Chentang Pass, after Nezha was shot by Mengmeng, he remained seething with indignation, anticipating that his master would soon find the culprit and allow him to vent his frustrations. However, despite waiting patiently, he saw no sign of Taiyi Zhenren returning. This inevitably left Nezha in a state of profound confusion. Where could his master be? Furrowing his brow, Nezha paced back and forth within the estate, hands clasped behind his back. This simply would not do. He could not afford to wait idly. After a moment of contemplation, Nezha made a resolute decision. He then summoned the wind and fire wheels, transforming into a streak of light as he hastened towards the Golden Light Cave on Qianyuan Mountain. Disciple Nezha has come to pay his respects to my master. Upon arriving at the entrance of the cave, Nezha called out loudly. The Golden Cloud Boy emerged and, upon recognizing Nezha, spoke, "The master is not at home. He has gone out." Upon hearing this, Nezha's brow furrowed. "Where has he gone?" The Golden Cloud Boy looked at Nezha in surprise and replied, "Did not the master go to Chentang Pass to find you?" Nezha shook his head. "No, he has not come to seek me." The Golden Cloud Boy responded, "Then it is likely he has ventured to Skull Mountain to seek out Lady Shiji, and has yet to return." At this revelation, Nezha was momentarily taken aback, pondering, "My master has been at Skull Mountain for over 10 days without returning. Could something have transpired?" With that, he bid farewell to the Golden Cloud Boy and set off on the wind and fire wheels, heading straight for Skull Mountain. His mission was twofold: to locate his master Taiyi and to confront that scoundrel, delivering a lesson. Upon reaching Skull Mountain, Nezha quickly located the Whitebone Cave. At the entrance, he found the colorful Cloud Boy distractedly sweeping with a broom. Without a word, Nezha brandished the universe circle and charged forward, striking the colorful Cloud Boy down with a single blow. Chapter 8. Jiang Zia descends the mountain. Alas, the colorful Cloud Boy could not escape the fate of his demise. Hearing the commotion, Shiji emerged from the cave. Upon witnessing Nezha's brutality in slaying the colorful Cloud Boy, she erupted in fury. "Nezha, how dare you wreak havoc in the Whitebone Cave?" Shiji unsheathed the Taiyi sword, pointing it menacingly at Nezha. Unbeknownst to her, Nezha, having faced death once, had become audacious. He hovered upon the wind and fire wheels, a chilling smile gracing his lips as he said, "Lady Shiji, quickly tell me where my master is." It was clear he sought Taiyi. Shiji, already aware that Taiyi had been demoted to a wild donkey by Zhang Xuan, hesitated to lead Nezha to Lingyun Manor, fearing it would displease the master. Thus, she retorted, "Nezha, you wretched soul, how could I possibly know the whereabouts of your master? Prepare to face my blade." With that, Shiji swung the Taiyi sword towards Nezha. He raised the universe circle to block, feeling a jolt of numbness in his arm, his spirit shaken, and his head spinning. Alarmed, he thought, "This wicked Taoist nun is formidable. I must flee." He quickly took flight on the wind and fire wheels, escaping with haste, while Shiji pursued relentlessly. The two soared above Lingyun Manor, where at that moment, Mengmeng was playing with Juling in the courtyard. Suddenly, she looked up and saw Shiji chasing after Nezha. Observing Shiji's furious demeanor, Mengmeng mused, to provoke Aunt Shiji to such a state, he must not be a good person. With a loud cry, she exclaimed, "Aunt Shiji, I am here to assist you." Saying this, Mengmeng leaped directly onto Jiuling's back. Jiuling, with its 9 lion heads, let out a ferocious roar, and with thunderous hooves, it gallantly pursued. Upon seeing Mengmeng chasing after her, Shiji was taken aback. If anything were to happen to this little ancestor, Master Zhang would undoubtedly blame her. She hurriedly urged, Mengmeng, do not come here. Return at once. No, Mengmeng retorted. I want to chase the evildoers alongside you. Upon hearing this, Nezha erupted in anger, shouting, You little brat, you are the real evildoer. Your entire family are evildoers. Mengmeng, incensed by his words, exclaimed, You shall not insult my father and mother. She hastily commanded Zhioling to charge forward. However, the speed of the wind-fire wheels was unmatched, and they could not catch up. Just as they reached the edge of the Skeleton Mountain territory, Mengmeng was suddenly swept into the estate by an overwhelming force. Shiji continued her pursuit of Nezha. Father, why are you pulling me back? Mengmeng protested upon returning to the courtyard, glaring at Zhang Xuan. Zhang Xuan furrowed his brow and said, Mengmeng, have you forgotten my warning about venturing beyond the boundaries of Skeleton Mountain? With a pout, Mengmeng replied, Of course, I remember. But father, I am now strong enough to protect myself. Why must you still restrict my freedom? In response, Zhang Xuan sternly admonished, Nonsense. How strong do you truly think you are? Defiantly, Mengmeng asserted, I am indeed very strong. I can sense it. Even Aunt Shiji cannot defeat me. Zhang Xuan coldly remarked. That does not imply that you are truly strong enough. If you can make me take a step back, then you may consider yourself strong enough. And I shall not interfere with your freedom. You can go wherever you wish. Really? Mengmeng's eyes sparkled with curiosity at his words. Indeed, Zhang Xuan nodded. But if you fail, you must stay obediently within Skeleton Mountain and go nowhere. Father, look out. Without waiting for Zhang Xuan to finish, Mengmeng brandished her personal weapon, a dark and unassuming firewood stick, and struck fiercely at Zhang Xuan. This stick was no ordinary implement. It was a treasure earned by Zhang Xuan during his missions. Though it appeared plain and unremarkable, it was imbued with a potent aura of slaughter. In truth, this firewood stick was the god-slaying spear, a companion treasure of the demon ancestor Luo. With a resounding clang, the firewood stick collided with Zhang Xuan, sending sparks flying. Yet, Zhang Xuan stood firm as a mountain, not budging an inch. Mengmeng was momentarily stunned. Was her father truly that formidable? This was her most powerful strike. Even a mountain of 100 billion would surely shatter under its force. Yet her father seemed untouched. I do not believe it. Mengmeng gritted her teeth, gripping the firewood stick tightly, and charged at Zhang Xuan once more. On this occasion, Mengmeng exerted herself to the utmost, drawing upon every ounce of strength she could muster. Yet, despite her fervent efforts, she was unable to inflict even the slightest harm upon Zhang Xuan. No more. This is utterly unamusing. Mengmeng huffed indignantly. Zhang Xuan chuckled, encouraging her. Mengmeng, keep pushing forward. Who knows, perhaps one day you shall succeed. In response, Mengmeng declared, I shall retreat to the Dao Ti tree to cultivate. She hurried off towards the orchard. Zhang Xuan smiled and chose not to pursue her any further. During this time, he sensed the second blood cocoon showing signs of rupture, suggesting that his second daughter was soon to be born. Thus, Zhang Xuan called out to Mengmeng, Mengmeng, today your father shall not prepare a meal. Feel free to pick some fruits from the orchard. Got it. Father, you are so tedious. Mengmeng waved her hand dismissively. While Zhang Xuan possessed unparalleled abilities within the estate, capable of fasting without sustenance, he still adhered to the habits of a common person. Mengmeng, endowed with the bloodline of an ancestral witch, also possessed a primordial spirit, her current realm far beyond the mundane world. Zhang Xuan shook his head and entered the house. Once inside his room, he retrieved spiritual fruits and resumed feeding the two blood cocoons. The cocoons ravenously absorbed the spiritual essence from the fruits, and one of the slightly larger cocoons began to show faint cracks on its surface. It wouldn't be long before it would break free from its confines. Observing this, a subtle smile graced Zhang Xuan's lips, and his eyes sparkled with anticipation. Meanwhile, Shiji pursued Nezha relentlessly until they reached Kunlun Mountain. Nezha, in a state of panic, fled into the Jade Void Temple. Shiji, witnessing this, was filled with frustration. The Jade Void Palace was a sacred ground, and the Primordial Lord was at odds with her own master, the Heavenly Teacher. With no other option, Shiji could only wait outside Kunlun Mountain. Should Nezha emerge, she would undoubtedly seek to eliminate him. Upon entering the Jade Void Temple, Nezha finally breathed a sigh of relief. Damn it, he muttered, dragging his fiery spear while cursing. Shiji, you wretched woman, don't give me a chance. I shall flay you alive. Suddenly, a voice interrupted. Nephew Nezha, what troubles your spirit? Nezha looked up to see an elderly man clad in a Taoist robe, his hair white and his frame frail. Who are you? Nezha frowned and inquired. The old man smiled gently and replied, I am Jiang Zia, a disciple of the Jade Void sect, sent by the Primordial Lord to assist enlightened rulers. It is only fitting that I address you as nephew. as I am also a disciple of your master, the Grand Master Taiyi. Upon hearing this, Nezha nodded and responded, Uncle. However, he inwardly scoffed, thinking that this frail old man hardly seemed worthy of the title. Chapter 9. Mengmeng ascends Skeleton Mountain. Although Nezha harbored disdain in his heart, he maintained his decorum. After bidding farewell, he hastened directly to the Jade Void Palace. Jiang Zia, upon witnessing this, merely shook his head and paid him no heed, descending the mountain with a heavy heart, as he was disheartened by his fruitless quest for immortality. Upon reaching the entrance of the Jade Void Palace, Nezha knelt down with a thud. Master, I seek an audience with my Grandmaster, he cried, his voice laden with sorrow. The doors of the palace slowly creaked open, revealing the Southern Extreme Celestial Elder, who stepped forth. Nezha, your Grandmaster is currently in seclusion, traversing the vast void. What brings you here? He inquired. Nezha replied. Southern Extreme Uncle, my master is nowhere to be found. I am being pursued by the Stone Lady of the... And now I find myself blocked at the gate of the Jade Void. I implore you to intercede on my behalf. He then recounted his plight with embellishments. Such audacity. That has gone too far. The Southern Extreme Celestial Elder's anger flared upon hearing this. Nezha, follow me. Today, I shall ensure that the Stone Lady encounters a reckoning. With that, he rushed to the entrance of the temple. Indeed, there sat a white-clad Taoist nun, cross-legged upon a stone pedestal, none other than the Stone Lady herself. The Southern Extreme's fury intensified. Have they dared to come to my door? Does they believe they can act with impunity? Do they think my is made of clay? He thundered. Stone Lady, you have gone too far. This is the Jade Void Temple. How dare you act so recklessly? Kneel and apologize to Nezha at once. The Stone Lady, upon hearing this, let out a cold laugh. The exudes great authority. Nezha has slain my disciple. Is it wrong for me to seek his demise? The Southern Extreme Celestial Elder retorted coldly. In the past, the two sects established the Fengshen Bang. Do you wish to provoke a killing calamity? The Stone Lady scoffed. That mere Nezha, if he were to perish, what could you do about it? At this, the Southern Extreme's fury reached a boiling point, and he summoned the 5-fire 7-feather fan, launching an attack at the Stone Lady. Unfazed, she brandished the Taiyi sword to counter him. The two engaged in a fierce battle at the gates of the Jade Void Palace, with Nezha cheering them on. However, despite the Stone Lady's cunning techniques, she was no match for the Southern Extreme, who ultimately wounded her severely, forcing her to retreat. Were it not for my reluctance to incite a killing calamity, I would have taken your life today, the Southern Extreme Celestial Elder sneered. Turning to Nezha, he added, you may return to Chentang Pass. I shall inform your Grandmaster of the matter regarding Taishan. Yes, Southern Extreme Uncle, Nezha replied gratefully before making his way back to Chentang Pass. At Lingyun Manor, Mengmeng was engaged in cultivation beneath the tea tree. Suddenly, she noticed a figure plummeting from the sky. Auntie Shiji, Mengmeng exclaimed in shock. As she discerned the identity of the falling figure, her heart raced. Daddy! She hurriedly dashed into the house, only to find Zhang Xuan sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, channeling spiritual essence into 2 blood cocoons. Regardless of how Mengmeng called out, Zhang Xuan remained oblivious. Frowning, she promptly dashed out of the manor. Aunt Shiji, how have you been? Mengmeng inquired upon finding Shiji. Shiji let out a bitter laugh and replied, I had a scuffle with someone and sustained injuries. Mengmeng asked, was it that mischievous child? Shiji shook her head. That little rascal is hardly my match. It was his master, the Southern Pole Immortal. Aunt Shiji, please consume this spiritual fruit to aid your recovery, Mengmeng said, producing a huanghongli and placing it in Shiji's hands. The sight of the huanghongli stirred immense excitement within Shiji. She had previously visited the Lingyun Manor and was well aware of the extraordinary nature of Zhang Xuan, the master there. However, despite the countless treasures within Lingyun Manor, she was not fortunate enough to enjoy them. Thus, the gift of such a rare and precious fruit from Mengmeng filled her with joy. Mengmeng, thank you. After consuming the huanghongli, Shiji felt significantly better and expressed her gratitude. Aunt Shiji, you should return to your cave abode to recuperate. Once you are healed, you can take your revenge on the Southern Pole old man, Mengmeng suggested as she accompanied Shiji to the bone cave. Shiji entered a period of seclusion to heal her wounds. Mengmeng then sought out the young boy Biyun and noticed he was in a gloomy mood. Curiously, she asked, Hey, Biyun, why do you look so unhappy? Sitting on the grass, Biyun let out a deep sigh, tears welling in his eyes, and replied, Mengmeng, Kaiyun has died. How can I be happy? At this, Mengmeng was taken aback. Biyun, what did you say? Kaiyun has died? How did it happen? Mengmeng shook Biyun's shoulders, her voice rising in urgency. Kaiyun was one of Mengmeng's few companions, and her death brought profound sorrow to Mengmeng. Biyun then revealed, she was killed by Nezha. Biyun began to weep uncontrollably. Nezha? Who is Nezha? Mengmeng asked. Nezha is the disciple of the Grand Master Taiyi. He was the one who shot arrows at Chentang Pass that day. When he failed to kill me, Taiyi falsely accused me and caused trouble for the queen. After Nezha had died once, the queen didn't pursue it further. But that Nezha, being unruly, came back and killed Kaiyun. Now, the queen is injured. And it seems that has something to do with Nezha as well. Listening to Biyun's account, Mengmeng quickly pieced together the situation. The mischievous child Shiji had pursued must be Nezha. This Nezha is utterly reckless. Mengmeng declared in anger. Biyun, stop crying. I will find Nezha and avenge Kaiyun. Really? Biyun asked. Of course. Mengmeng affirmed with a nod. You and Kaiyun are my dearest friends. Kaiyun cannot have died in vain. Biyun remarked. Even the queen cannot deal with Nezha. It seems only you can avenge Kaiyun. Biyun, stay safe in the mountains. I will seek retribution against Nezha. Mengmeng stated resolutely as she made her way back to Lingyun Manor. Upon entering, she found Zhang Xuan still engaged in delivering spiritual essence to his younger siblings. Mengmeng understood that each time her father provided spiritual essence, it required a considerable amount of time. As her eyes glimmered with a sudden thought, Mengmeng resolved to seize the opportunity and venture forth from Skull Mountain to seek out Nezha. With this determination, she busily prepared an array of spiritual fruits and treasures, storing them in her magical pouch. Grasping her firewood stick, she stealthily departed from Skull Mountain. Unbeknownst to her, time slipped away, and Zhang Xuan within the chamber gradually opened his eyes. It seemed that the little one, Nan, could hardly contain her eagerness to enter the world. Zhang Xuan sighed with a bittersweet smile. Initially, he intended to provide additional spiritual essence to the unborn children, enhancing their innate talents and roots. However, Nan's impatience was beyond even his control, compelling him to hasten her birth. With resignation, Zhang Xuan began to channel spiritual essence into the two blood cocoons. Meanwhile, liberated from her father's constraints, Mengmeng felt as if the vast ocean was open for fish to leap and the sky was free for birds to soar. Her first excursion beyond Skull Mountain filled her with immense curiosity, and her destination was, of course, Chentang Pass. Chapter 10. Do you dare challenge me? As she journeyed toward Chentang Pass, Mengmeng also sought to find her mother. Since father refuses to disclose mother's whereabouts, I shall seek her out myself. She mused while guiding her speed through the air. Although she was uncertain of Chentang's location, she reasoned that it must lie to the south, based on the direction from which Nezha had earlier shot his arrows. Thus, she began her quest. After numerous inquiries, Mengmeng finally arrived at Chentang Pass. The guards, perceiving her to be merely a child, allowed her passage without difficulty. Upon entering the pass, she was greeted by a scene of vibrant prosperity, with citizens living in peace and contentment. Curiously, she recalled hearing tales of King Zhou of Shang, depicted as ruthless and tyrannical, excessively taxing the people to construct the deer platform, leading to widespread suffering. Why, then, was Chentang so flourishing? Mengmeng pondered in astonishment. Could it be that Nezha's father, Li Jing, was indeed a benevolent official? This observation left her perplexed. Logically, a mischievous character like Nezha would have a father who was equally obstinate and unreasonable. As the saying goes, like father, like son. However, witnessing the thriving conditions of Chentang Pass, Mengmeng found herself utterly bewildered. After conversing with passers-by, she successfully made her way to the Li residence. At that moment, a significant event unfolded within the Li household. Nezha, unable to find Taiyi and pursued by Shiji, had returned home. Nezha's actions of skinning the third prince of the East Sea, Ao Bing, had incited the wrath of the Jade Emperor, who dispatched celestial soldiers to capture him. Above the Li residence, the four dragon kings, Ao Guang, Ao Shun, Ao Ming, and Ao Ji, roared menacingly, soaring through the clouds. Their dragon chants resonating ominously. Nezha, you have slain my son, and now you dare to block my path at the southern heavenly gate, exposing my dragon scales. This enmity cannot go unavenged. Ao Guang bellowed with fury, his voice echoing like thunder. The other three dragons roared in unison, as flashes of lightning illuminated the clouds and thunder rumbled ominously. Nezha, witnessing this spectacle, exclaimed in fury, "Old mud eel, you should have been slain at the southern heavenly gate." Upon hearing this, Ao Guang's fury ignited, causing his three corpses to tremble with rage. At that moment, Li Jing returned from the Yuan Pass, having defeated Do Rong. He was taken aback by the scene unfolding before him. Spotting Li Jing, Ao Guang gritted his teeth and declared, "Li Jing, you have a fine son. Nezha has already killed my son Ao Bing and has further stripped my dragon scales at the southern heavenly gate. If you do not provide an explanation, Our dragon clan shall be at odds with you and the Chentang Pass until the bitter end. AOG interjected, Brother, why waste words with him? Let us summon rain and floods to drown the Chentang Pass. Indeed, let us submerge Chentang Pass, echoed the remaining two dragons, Ao Ming and Ao Shun. Li Jing, in a state of panic, pleaded, Esteemed dragon gods, this cannot be done. Flooding Chentang Pass will not only deepen the dragon clan's karmic debt, but it will also fall upon me. As the general of Chentang Pass, I will bear the burden of this karma. Ao Guang retorted, Li Jing, since you say it cannot be done, then you must provide us with an explanation. Let Nezha pay with his life. Upon hearing this, Nezha's rage surged. Having died once before, he could not fathom facing death again, especially with the whereabouts of Taiyi Zhenren unknown. If he were to perish, his resurrection was uncertain. These four old mud eels are too overbearing. Nezha roared, his eyes ablaze with fury. Today, I shall slay you all. With that, Nezha summoned the wind and fire wheels, wielding the fire-pointed spear, and charged towards the four dragons. Li Jing shouted in anger, Rebellious child, rebellious child. Lady Yin implored, Brother Jing, save our son. Li Jing, in a fit of rage, retorted, It is all your fault. Your maternal kindness has turned Nezha into what he is. I will not save him. It would be best if he were slain by the four dragon kings. Upon hearing this, Lady Yin fainted in shock. Li Jing paid her no mind, and summoned the Linglong treasure pagoda to join the four dragons in their assault on Nezha. However, Nezha, in his valor, proved more than a match for them all. In a flurry of strikes, the four sea dragon kings and Li Jing found themselves spitting blood and cascading from the heavens. Ha ha! Nezha laughed heartily, hands on his hips. A group of useless sacks, did you think you could kill me? Today, I shall claim your lives. With a fierce countenance, Nezha advanced menacingly toward the four sea dragon kings and Li Jing. You rebellious child, do you dare to slay your own father? Li Jing shouted in reprimand. With a swift kick, Nezha stomped on Li Jing's face, contorting it grotesquely. Having already died once, Nezha was reborn as a lotus flower, transformed and enlightened. No longer merely a disciple of the Chan teaching, he was now the cherished spirit of the Holy Mother Enwa. With such a prestigious background, Nezha felt emboldened beyond measure. Li Jing, if I were to slay you, what could you possibly do about it? Ha ha! Nezha boasted fiercely. Then, with great force, he stomped on Li Jing's face while bellowing, I will crush you. I will crush you. In no time, Li Jing's head was bloodied and battered. The Four Seas Dragon King watched in horror, internally lamenting that this Nezha was nothing short of a beast, mercilessly trampling even his own father. After all, there must be some semblance of a father-son bond, a blood connection. Nezha, may you meet a wretched end, Li Jing weakly uttered. Humph, do you dare to argue with me? Nezha retorted, his tone dripping with disdain. As he raised the cosmic ring, he was poised to strike Li Jing down. Hold on. Suddenly, a youthful voice rang out. Everyone paused, turning towards the sound. They beheld a delicately crafted little girl who strolled forward with a dark, charred stick in hand. Nezha frowned and demanded, Who are you to meddle in my affairs? The Four Seas Dragon King, who had hoped for a savior, felt a twinge of disappointment upon realizing it was merely an inexperienced girl. AOG turned to Ao Guang and said, Brother, Nezha is ferocious. We cannot stand against him. Let us seek our ancestor and have him intervene to save our dragon clan. Ao Guang sighed softly, replying, At this juncture, we may have no choice but to summon the ancient candle dragon. After the calamity of the Dragon Han era, the dragon clan had dwindled due to the burdens of karma and the oppression of the heavenly Tao. The sole remaining power of the dragon clan was the once mighty candle dragon ancestor. You need not concern yourself with my identity. Simply know that today, you shall meet your demise, Mengmeng declared coldly. Haha. Nezha nearly burst into laughter at her words. You intend to kill me? He scoffed, dismissing the audacity of someone who appeared to be of a similar age. Yet, Mengmeng, undeterred by Nezha's mockery, spoke earnestly. Indeed, I mean to kill you. At this moment, Li Jing feebly interjected, Little girl, you should leave at once. Nezha is mischievous and inherently violent, endowed with great powers. I, Li Jing, am already steeped in sin. I do not wish to further entangle you, an innocent soul. Bang! Before Li Jing could finish his plea, Nezha's foot came crashing down on his head once more, causing blood to spurt anew. Nezha sneered, Li Jing, if you continue to speak ill of me, do you believe I want to crush your skull? Chapter 11. So it is you, Nezha, release Li Jing. Mengmeng commanded. Nezha retorted with a cold laugh. What business is it of yours? I am punishing my father. What concern is it to you? Mengmeng replied, Li Jing is a good official. He ensures that the people are well fed and clothed. If he were a corrupt official, then it would matter not if you killed him. But he is a good man. As a chivalrous woman who roams the world, I cannot stand idly by while you take his life. Moreover, he is still your father. Mengmeng had often listened to stories from Zhang Xuan. What are the 7 heroes and 5 righteous ones, the valiant figures of Water Margin, the gallant heroes of the legend of the Condor heroes, the sword-wielding warriors of Mount Shu, or even the tales of investiture of the gods and journey to the west? Mengmeng often ponders if one day she could escape from Skeleton Mountain, traverse the world, and uphold justice as a chivalrous hero. Alas, in her haste to depart, she forgot to bring along her beloved De Huang. Suddenly, a thought struck her, and she felt a pang of regret. Riding atop De Huang's golden, silky mane while journeying through the realm would indeed be a splendid sight. Humph, meddlesome as ever. Today, not only did I slay Li Jing, but I shall also end you. A fierce expression emerged on Nezha's face, his murderous intent boiling within him. Mengmeng's petite countenance grew icy as she retorted, I have heard tales from my father about Nezha stirring up the seas. I once thought it mere legend, yet the reality of you is utterly devoid of humanity. Who exactly are you? Nezha inquired, his brow furrowed, his tone frigid. Mengmeng pondered for a moment, then retrieved a white bone arrow from her pocket and cast it to the ground. Nezha, do you recognize this arrow? Upon seeing the bone arrow, Nezha's eyes widened in shock. In an instant, they blazed crimson, his fury surging like a tempest. So it was you. Nezha bellowed, his entire being radiating murderous intent. A storm of rage churning within him. This arrow, how could he not recognize it? It was the very arrow that had shattered the city wall of Chentang Pass and brought about his demise. You killed me. The aura of death enveloped Nezha, a palpable and ferocious intent surrounding him. Kill you? So it turns out I was the one who shot you down that day? Mengmeng was momentarily taken aback, then scratched her head in confusion. But that shouldn't be the case, right? I only exerted about 60 or 70% of my strength. Yet soon enough, Mengmeng's curiosity returned as she scrutinized Nezha. You died, and yet you resurrected? What will you do now? Nezha replied coldly, What will you do? Mengmeng declared, Of course, I shall kill you once more to avenge Kaiyun. Bold indeed. Nezha roared in fury, brandishing his fiery spear and charging at Mengmeng. Unfazed, she met his attack with a firewood stick. The two engaged in a fierce battle high above Chentang Pass, creating chaos that obscured the sky and dimmed the sun and moon. Nezha's presence was formidable, his murderous intent overwhelming. However, Mengmeng remained unfazed, her demeanor calm and unruffled. Oh, Nezha, is that all the might you possess? Mengmeng initially sought to gauge Nezha's strength, but soon realized that he seemed rather feeble. So weak, she mused, shaking her head. Nezha, upon hearing these words, blushed with rage, feeling utterly humiliated. No one had ever deemed him weak. Meanwhile, Li Jing and the 4 Seas Dragon Kings, who were spectating, stood in stunned silence, their mouths agape as if a duck egg could fit inside. They had assumed Nezha was an extraordinary being, formidable in nature. Little did they know that this sudden appearance of a little girl was even more formidable than Nezha. Are children of today truly this courageous? Whose subordinate is she? The 4 Seas Dragon King exclaimed with delight, Brother, this is wonderful. The young girl displayed remarkable bravery, suggesting that there was no need to summon the ancestral dragon. Li Jing remarked, Gentlemen, why trouble the ancient ones of the dragon clan? I apologize on behalf of myself. The 4 Seas Dragon Kings exchanged glances with Li Jing, each responding with a disdainful snort, disregarding him entirely. At that moment, Nezha grew anxious. He had never encountered a rival since his birth, and had even managed to defeat Ao Guang in the heavenly court, fueling his arrogance. Yet today, he found himself unable to overcome this girl of his own age, leaving him both astonished and furious. He conveniently forgot that during their previous competition, he had been bested by the very same girl. Although he refused to accept it, the truth remained. She was indeed stronger than him. With a resounding thud, the girl, Mengmeng, grew bored and struck Nezha down from the heavens. He plummeted, crashing through the gate of Li's residence, and coughed up a mouthful of blood. Nezha was struck with disbelief. How could he possibly be defeated? He was a disciple of the Taiyi Zhenren. He was Nezha. Nezha, it seems you are quite unwilling to accept defeat. However, I shall keep my word and end your life, Mengmeng declared, descending and pointing her fiery staff at him. Nezha, gritting his teeth, yearned for another battle, but at that moment, he was gravely injured and incapable of continuing the fight. Mengmeng suddenly turned to Li Jing and asked, Generally, do you have any objections if I kill him? Upon hearing this, Li Jing let out a deep sigh and replied, Lady Hero, this boy is incorrigible. It would be just to slay him. Nezha, upon hearing this, was consumed with rage. Li Jing, you are unworthy of being a father. Li Jing coldly responded, Nezha, I have raised you. If you show no gratitude, that is one thing. But to harm me and wish for my death. Do you truly believe it is right for you to kill me while I cannot retaliate? I considered you my son, yet do you regard me as your father? These words left Nezha speechless. That being the case, Nezha, it is time for you to depart, Mengmeng stated, her staff gleaming ominously. Terrified, Nezha cried out, No, you cannot kill me. I am a direct disciple of Taiyi Zhenren, a member of the Chan sect. The Chan sect is a holy lineage. If you take my life, they will not spare you, nor will the sage. Nezha was genuinely afraid. He had already died once. Should he perish again, his resurrection would be uncertain. The Four Seas Dragon Kings were equally alarmed. Though they had contemplated Nezha's demise, they understood the gravity of such a decision. Their intention in seeking Nezha was merely to restore some dignity to the dragon clan. To kill him was a different matter entirely. After all, Nezha was a descendant of a sage. While slaying Nezha might provide momentary satisfaction, the wrath of the Chan sect and the sage would have dire consequences. Mengmeng's actions would undoubtedly provoke the ire of the Chan sect, leading to inquiries that could bring calamity upon the dragon clan. Moreover, the protective nature of Yuanshi Tianzun was no secret within the primordial world. Moreover, dragons are creatures of water, known for their egg-laying and adorned with fur and horns. The primordial cannot overlook the existence of the dragon lineage. Hold on, young friend. Aoguang approached Mengmeng, speaking earnestly. Mengmeng frowned, casting a glance at Aoguang, and replied, Dragon King. Did you not intend to slay Nezha? Now that I wish to end his life, why do you urge me to desist? Upon hearing this, Aoguang sighed with a wry smile and said, Young friend, indeed, we desire to eliminate him. However, he is a disciple of a sage and must not be slain. To kill Nezha would entangle us in the sage's karmic retribution. Who can bear such consequences? Certainly, our dragon clan cannot. Even in our prime, we would be unable to withstand it. Chapter 12. Do not approach. Young friend, Nezha is a disciple of a sage. He truly cannot be killed. A mere lesson will suffice. Indeed, while your valor is commendable, you remain isolated and cannot contend against the forces of the sage's teachings. The other three dragon kings advised in unison. Mengmeng, her brow furrowed, retorted, Who says so? Today, I shall slay him. With that, disregarding the four dragons, she slowly aimed the god-slaying spear at Nezha. The four dragons were instantly alarmed, while Li Jing averted his gaze. At this moment, despair filled Nezha's eyes. In Kunlun Mountain, within the Jade Void Palace, the Primordial Lord had emerged from his seclusion. The Southern Polar Immortal knelt before him. After listening to the Southern Polar Immortal's words, the Primordial Lord furrowed his brow and inquired, Southern Polar, you say Taiyi has gone missing? Is it true that you drove away Shiji at the gates of the Jade Void Palace? The Southern Polar Immortal respectfully replied, Yes, Master. The GS sect has acted with great audacity. I would gladly eliminate Shiji myself. However, as you have decreed, the calamity of killing has arrived, and we must refrain from committing such acts. Hence, I allowed Shiji to leave. Upon hearing this, the Primordial Lord nodded and began to calculate the heavenly secrets with his fingers. Although the heavenly secrets were obscured during the calamity, what abilities did a sage possess? With a slight calculation, he could glean some insights. However, the interference of calamity energy clouded even the sage's understanding, leaving only a general sense of the situation. Taiyi truly cannot be found. Even I cannot discern his whereabouts. As he delved deeper into his calculations, the Primordial Lord was momentarily taken aback, for he too could not ascertain Taiyi's current state. Nevertheless, one thing was certain, Taiyi was not dead. For a cultivator, true death entails the annihilation of both body and spirit. Only when both the physical form and the primordial spirit cease to exist can one be considered truly deceased. Taiyi's body was shattered by a mere glance from Zhang Xuan, but his primordial spirit remained intact, merely imprisoned within a donkey's form. This could not be deemed true death. Should Taiyi's primordial spirit be located, the Primordial Lord, wielding the might of a sage, could assist in reconstructing Taiyi's physical form. Yet at present, although the Primordial Lord understood that Taiyi was not dead, he could not discern any further details. This inevitably caused him to furrow his brow. Soon after, the Primordial Lord shifted his focus and began to calculate the fate of Nezha instead. In pursuit of the underlying reasons, one must follow the clues to uncover Taiyi's whereabouts. As this deduction unfolded, the expression of Yuanshi Tianzun shifted subtly. Master, what is it? Unable to contain his curiosity upon witnessing the change in Yuanshi Tianzun's countenance, Nenji inquired. Yuanshi replied, Nenji, Nezha is in peril. You must hasten to Chentang Pass and rescue him. Then bring him to Kunlun Mountain. Yes, master. Responding promptly, Nenji set off towards Chentang. At the Skull Mountain, within the Lingyun Manor, Zhang Xuan emerged from his dwelling. At last a respite. He sighed with relief. Having imparted spiritual essence to the two small lives, he would no longer need to continue, merely awaiting their emergence from their cocoons. Where's Mengmeng? Zhang Xuan furrowed his brow. Based on past experiences, as soon as he exited the house, Mengmeng would rush over, clamoring for his company. However, today, the little one remained silent, which struck Zhang Xuan as peculiar. Upon entering the courtyard, his eyes gleamed with determination. In an instant, his thoughts enveloped the entirety of Skull Mountain. Within the realm of invincibility, Zhang Xuan possessed omniscience and omnipotence. It could be said that within this domain, he existed as a mythic figure of unparalleled prowess. Neither the saints nor Hong Jun, nor even the heavenly Tao, Pangu, or the great Tao, could compare to him. Within Skull Mountain, they appeared as mere ants. Naturally, should Zhang Xuan venture beyond Chentang, he would be reduced to the lowest of the low in their eyes. However, Zhang Xuan was not foolish enough to leave Skull Mountain. In a world rife with gods and demons, mortals were akin to ants, easily extinguished by a single misstep. Moreover, humanity was embroiled in turmoil. The flames of war raged, smoke filled the air, and countless lives were lost. Ordinary individuals like Zhang Xuan, in such chaotic times, faced death at the hands of marauding armies or were conscripted into service. Where could she be? His thoughts traversed every corner of Skull Mountain, yet he found no trace of Mengmeng. Zhang Xuan's expression darkened. This is dire. That girl has left Skull Mountain. He swiftly summoned Jiuling, stating, Jiuling, I shall assist you in elevating your cultivation. Once your power has increased, immediately seek out the young master. Jiuling, momentarily taken aback, scarcely had time to rejoice before a surge of spiritual light cascaded into her being. In the next moment, she joyously felt her aura soaring, her energy swelling, and her cultivation skyrocketing. Originally at the initial stage of the great Luo Golden Immortal, in the blink of an eye, Jiuling's cultivation ascended to the pinnacle of quasi-saint. If not for Zhang Xian's lack of Hongmeng purple qi, he could have forged a saint immediately. Thank you, master. Jiuling prostrated on the ground, elated. Zhang Xuan tossed her a pouch, instructing, once you leave Skull Mountain, use the essence of this pouch to locate Mengmeng. You must bring her back. Yes, master. Jiuling hesitated briefly and spoke. Master, what if the young master refuses to return? Given the interactions over the past few days, Jiuling was well aware of Mengmeng's temperament. Humph, if he does not come back, I shall bind him and bring him back. Zhang Xuan snorted coldly. Yes, master. I shall go at once. With that, Jiuling soared out of the manor. At the entrance of the manor, Taiyi, who had transformed into a wild donkey, watched Jiuling take flight, filled with envy. Simultaneously, he was astonished by Zhang Xuan's prowess. My heavens! In just a few breaths, a grand Luo Golden Immortal was elevated directly to the pinnacle of quasi-sainthood. What kind of technique is this? Surely, even a saint would not possess such power. In that moment, Taiyi's heart surged with tumultuous waves. Who exactly is this Zhang Xuan, the esteemed recluse? At Chentang Pass, in the Li residence, do not come closer. Do not come any closer. Nezha shouted in a panic, his soul nearly departing as he beheld Mengmeng advancing with a frost-laden expression. The usually unruly and unrestrained Nezha was genuinely frightened at this moment. He could sense the intense murderous intent emanating from Mengmeng. She truly intended to kill him. Humph. Nezha, those who act unjustly must meet their end. Today, I shall avenge Kai Yun and also settle the score for by Yun's arrow. Mengmeng declared coldly. With a hum, the god-slaying spear was raised high, and terrifying black flames coiled around its tip, shimmering ominously, exuding an intimidating aura. Stop. Suddenly, a voice pierced through the air. Mengmeng furrowed her brow and looked up to see an elderly man with a prominent bump on his forehead, descending from the sky atop a 9-colored deer. Stop. You cannot kill Nezha. Leaping down from the deer, the South Pole Immortal struck his longevity staff heavily against the ground. Boom. The vastly residence immediately shook violently. Mengmeng frowned and demanded, Who are you? Why do you intervene on Nezha's behalf? Uncle Master. Upon seeing the South Pole, Nezha felt as if he had grasped a lifeline, swiftly darting behind him. Is anyone watching? Please vote for me. Monthly tickets. Comments. Chapter 13. Mengmeng's second attempt to kill Nezha. Uncle Master, save me. Once beside the South Pole, Nezha finally regained his composure and pleaded. The South Pole Immortal smiled gently and reassured him, Do not fear, my nephew. With your Uncle Master here, who would dare act recklessly? You old man. I see you are of advanced age. I shall spare you. Quickly step aside, lest you be harmed in the ensuing conflict. It will not be my responsibility. Mengmeng retorted, looking at the South Pole. The South Pole scoffed coldly and reprimanded, "Impudent child, how dare you be so arrogant? Today, I shall take you down." Saying this, the South Pole summoned his longevity staff, directing it toward Mengmeng. Swish! The staff moved like a glimmering serpent, coiling toward her. However, just as Mengmeng was about to make her move, a sudden roar erupted. A terrifying roar reverberated through the entire Chentang, causing the very earth to tremble. The citizens within the Chentang Pass, upon hearing the fearsome sound, were filled with dread, exclaiming that a monster had arrived. "South Pole, do not harm my master." With a resounding crash, a magnificent nine-headed lion, adorned with lustrous golden fur, descended into the Li residence. One mighty roar instantly shattered South Pole's staff. "Big Yellow!" exclaimed Mengmeng in delight upon spotting Zhioling, who immediately bounded to her side, nuzzling against her affectionately in a rather endearing manner. "Big Yellow, what brings you here?" Mengmeng inquired. "Little master, my lord has sent me to escort you back," Zhioling replied. However, before Zhioling could finish, Mengmeng retorted, "I refuse to return. I shall slay Nezha, and after that, I will seek out my mother." At Lingyun Manor, by the riverside, Zhang Xuan sat patiently, casting his fishing line. A voice echoed in his mind. "Fish for 1 hour, domain expands by 100 meters. Fish for 2 hours, domain expands by 200 meters. Fish for 10 hours. Domain expands by 1,000 meters. Fish for 24 hours. Zhang Xuan sighed deeply. The rate of expansion was far too sluggish. It seemed he would need to undertake more tasks daily. He then rose, carrying his basket of fish, and made his way to the manor. Beyond fishing, there were tasks such as cultivating orchards and tending to pets. He hoped that Mengmeng, that mischievous child, would not cause any serious trouble. Upon entering the garden, Zhang Xuan sighed softly. Although he longed to personally fetch Mengmeng, he felt powerless. Within his domain, he was invincible, but beyond its borders, he was merely vulnerable. Zhang Xuan could only strive to complete more tasks to expand his domain, aiming to extend its reach to Chaoga in the shortest time possible. Skeleton Mountain lay between Chentang and Chaoga, even closer to Chentang. Just as Zhang Xuan entered the orchard, another voice resonated in his mind. "Alert! Domain now covers Chentang." Startled, Zhang Xuan paused. Chentang? Previously, Nezha had slain Kaiyun Tong. Could that fool have ventured to Chentang to confront Nezha? Contemplating this, he decided to focus his thoughts and observe Chentang. With a hum, as he concentrated, his awareness enveloped the entirety of Chentang. In an instant, every detail within the pass came vividly into his view. To his relief, the fool had indeed ventured to Chentang, yet all seemed well. Zhang Xuan exhaled, pondering whether to retrieve this reckless child immediately. However, upon reflecting, he recognized Mengmeng's strong-willed nature and decided it might be beneficial for her to face the world on her own for a while, allowing her character to be tempered. Perhaps only after experiencing hardship would she remember the goodness of her father. Thus, Zhang Xuan leisurely fetched a chaise lounge, indulging in spiritual fruits while observing the unfolding drama within the Li residence. At that moment, in the Li household, Zhioling heard Mengmeng's words and immediately wilted. How could it dare to continue persuading Mengmeng to return? Although it had reached the pinnacle of quasi-saint status, for some inexplicable reason, it felt an overwhelming sense of inadequacy against Mengmeng. "Zhioling, have you lost your mind? Why did you shatter Master S' spiritual treasure?" At this juncture, Nezha bellowed in fury. Zhioling, hearing this, cast a disdainful glance at Nezha and replied, "Nezha, I am no longer the steed of that Taoist. Do not invoke Taiyi in this matter." Upon hearing this, Nezha was consumed with rage. "You wretched creature, this is preposterous." Nezha ground his teeth in frustration, yet found himself powerless against the overwhelming aura of Zhioling. Zhioling, unfazed, fixated on the southern pole immortal and declared, "Nanji, be gone at once. Otherwise, I shall not hesitate to end your existence." Nanji, upon hearing this, clenched his teeth in rage. How could even a mere beast disregard him? After all, he was the foremost disciple of the primordial saint. Karmic retribution. Today, I shall collect you on behalf of Taiyi. With that, Nanji summoned his longevity staff once more, directing it towards Zhioling. "Do not panic, my lord. Allow me to handle this." With those words, Zhioling brandished its claws and engaged Nanji in battle. In an instant, the skies above the Li residence crackled with thunder and radiated brilliance. The four sea dragon kings watched in trepidation. For this was a clash of quasi-saint powers, a spectacle of terrifying might. Fortunately, neither side unleashed their full strength. Otherwise, the entire Chentang would likely be obliterated in an instant. "Humph, karmic retribution, I did not expect you to have broken through. I shall spare you today." Acknowledging Zhioling's formidable prowess, Nanji began to contemplate retreat. Nezha, let us depart. My master has instructed me to escort you back to Kunlun Mountain. Do not leave. Mengmeng shouted defiantly at this moment. This is intolerable. Seeing Mengmeng's refusal to relent, Nezha was instantly engulfed in fury. With a roar, he exclaimed, so be it. Let us perish together. Upon hearing this, Mengmeng coldly retorted, perish together? You are not worthy. Gripping the god-slaying spear, Mengmeng charged towards Nezha. In an instant, an overwhelming intent to kill surged forth, rolling towards him. Nezha, taken aback, cried out, Master, save me. Boom. However, Nanji was blasted away by a single strike of Mengmeng's spear, which hurtled directly towards Nezha. In that fleeting moment, Nezha felt the chilling breath of death drawing near. No. Nezha screamed in madness, his eyes bloodshot. Puff. In the next instant, Nezha was obliterated into a mist of blood. The acrid scent of blood permeated the Li residence. Li Jing, witnessing Nezha's demise, exhibited no flicker of emotion in his gaze. Nezha. Upon seeing Nezha fall, Nanji was both astonished and enraged. Realizing she could not contend with Mengmeng and Zhuling alone, she mounted her white deer and fled. Generally, I have slain Nezha. Do you truly remain indifferent? Mengmeng inquired, casting a glance at Li Jing. With a deep sigh, Li Jing replied, Heroine, I am not indifferent. What weighs on my mind is that I have diligently governed Chentang, even at the cost of offending treacherous ministers like Fei Zhong and Yuhan, only to find that I have raised such a rebellious child as Nezha. This is indeed my failing. However, Mengmeng shook her head and said, generally, Nezha is unruly and regards the lives of others as mere trifles. This is not your fault. He is the reincarnation of the spirit pearl of the Queen Mother, and such is his nature. Upon hearing this, Li Jing was taken aback. Nezha is the reincarnation of the spirit pearl of the Queen Mother? He then exclaimed in shock. Heroine. Mengmeng smiled and said, there is no need to call me heroine. Just address me as Mengmeng. Mengmeng, since Nezha is the reincarnation of the spirit pearl, you must flee quickly. After all, the spirit pearl is also a disciple of a sage. Chapter 14. Mengmeng enters Chaoga. Human fortune golden dragon blocks the way, yet Mengmeng replied, General Li. Since he is a sage, where can I possibly escape to? Mengmeng, are you not afraid? Li Jing asked anxiously. I am not afraid. Mengmeng asserted. Nezha's nature is obstinate and he slaughters innocents. Even if the primordial sage or the Nuwa sage were to come, they would have no recourse to reason. Can it be that sages are as unreasonable as Nezha? Is that what a sage is? Hearing Mengmeng's words, Li Jing sighed deeply and said, if that is the case, I shall no longer urge you. You speak the truth. The means of sages are boundless. Escaping to the ends of the earth would be of no use. In Skull Mountain, Zhang Xuan observed this scene and nodded slightly. This child, it seemed, was not so rash or reckless after all. Zhang Xuan appreciated Mengmeng's assertion regarding the unreasonable nature of sages. Sages, elevated above all, regard the common folk as mere ants. Thus, they are particularly concerned with their reputation and generally do not oppress the weak. Of course, the primordial sage is an exception. Now that the influence of their domain had begun to spread towards Chaoga, Zhang Xuan did not hasten to retrieve Mengmeng from Chentang. During this period, as long as he kept a vigilant eye on Mengmeng, he had no fear of anyone doing her harm. Zhang Xuan estimated that with the current rate of expansion, it would not be long before it reached Chaoga City. Mengmeng, what are your plans moving forward? Li Jing inquired. Mengmeng pondered for a moment and replied, General Li, I wish to find my mother. In Skull Mountain, upon hearing Mengmeng's words, Zhang Xuan was momentarily taken aback. It turned out that this child was not merely playful, but was indeed searching for her mother. He then gazed longingly towards the realm of the 9 underworlds and said, My beloved, you are imprisoned in the underworld by the heavenly Tao. One day, I shall break the restrictions of the heavenly Tao and liberate you from the cycle of the 9 underworlds, allowing our family to reunite. Our second little one is on the verge of being born. She will undoubtedly be as beautiful as you and Mengmeng. Searching for your mother? Li Jing expressed mild surprise. Yes, Mengmeng nodded. Li Jing inquired, Mengmeng, do you know where your mother is? I can send someone to escort you there. Mengmeng shook her head and, feeling somewhat awkward, replied, General Li, I do not know where my mother is. Do you have any means to help me find her? Upon hearing this, Li Jing was taken aback and asked, Do you have a portrait of your mother? No, Mengmeng said, her expression dimming. Throughout her life, she had never seen her mother and did not even know what she looked like. She imagined her mother must be very beautiful. Mengmeng had often daydreamed about the joy of playing with her mother as she grew up, but alas, such beauty existed only in her dreams. This presents quite a dilemma, Li Jing said, his face showing concern. Mengmeng chuckled lightly and said, It's all right, Generally, I will find my mother on my own. Upon hearing this, Li Jing's expression grew serious as he said, Mengmeng, you are indeed my savior. If you had not appeared, I would have likely been killed by Nezha. After a moment of contemplation, Li Jing looked at Mengmeng and said, I have a method that might help you find your mother, but… Li Jing hesitated. Mengmeng blinked her beautiful, dark eyes and asked, General Li, please, go on. Li Jing continued, Mengmeng, under heaven, all lands belong to the king, and all shores to his ministers. If you wish to find your mother, you might seek assistance from the king. However, but what? Mengmeng asked eagerly. Li Jing sighed deeply and said, but currently, the king is swayed by malevolent forces and acts with cruelty. Throughout the realm, there is much discontent. Although the king could help you find your mother, given his current erratic and tyrannical nature, would he truly assist you? I have heard that any upright minister who dares to advise the king has met with death. However, Mengmeng's eyes brightened as she said, General Li, can the King Zhou truly help me find my mother? Li Jing pondered for a moment and replied, I cannot be certain. Yet, there is a significant chance. After all, who in this world possesses greater capability than the king? It is unfortunate that he… General Li, thank you. I shall go to Chaoga immediately. Without waiting for Li Jing to finish, Mengmeng leaped onto Jiuling's back and headed toward Chaoga. Li Jing was taken aback and called out in alarm, Mengmeng, yet she had already gone far. Li Jing stomped his foot in frustration. This child, why must she be so reckless? The king cannot be seen at whim. At the very least, let me accompany you. With this thought, Li Jing issued a command. Immediately head to Chaoga. I must meet with the king. Li Jing would not allow Mengmeng to face danger alone. Should the king be angered, it would not bode well. Even though Mengmeng possessed formidable powers and skills, he was still the king. Jiuling, how did you find me? In the lofty heights, perched upon the back of Jiuling, Mengmeng inquired. Jiuling, with a deep and resonant voice, replied, my master bestowed upon me a magical pouch, which I used to trace your aura. Father knows I have run away. He isn't angry, is he? Jiuling's tone lowered. Humph, he must be furious, right? Mengmeng retorted. My lord, perhaps we should return? Jiuling suggested, aware that Zhang Xuan had commanded it to bring Mengmeng back, even if it meant binding her. Failing to return Mengmeng would surely incur the master's wrath. Impossible. Mengmeng crossed her arms defiantly. After all the trouble to come out, I cannot simply go back. I must find my mother. At her words, Jiuling felt helpless. Master, it is not that I do not wish to take you back. It is simply that I cannot persuade you. If it comes to binding you, I fear I might be punished myself. Jiuling was also struck by a sense of dread. Despite its peak quasi-saint realm, it felt incapable of overcoming Mengmeng. What realm is she truly in? She is certainly not a saint. Master, we have arrived at Chaoga, Jiuling announced. Upon hearing this, Mengmeng opened her eyes and gazed downward. Indeed, a magnificent city unfolded before her, resplendent in gold and adorned with intricate carvings. Wow, what a beautiful city. Jiuling, let us rush forward. Mengmeng exclaimed with excitement. Suddenly, a beam of golden light shot into the sky, obstructing their path. They beheld the ethereal image of a golden dragon, its claws bared and roaring defiantly, menacing in appearance. This is bad. Master, that is the dragon of human fortune. We cannot simply barge into Chaoga, Jiuling warned. What shall we do? Mengmeng furrowed her brow, sensing the dragon's terrifying presence. For now, we must conceal our auras and disguise ourselves as mortals to enter through the main gate of Chaoga. Very well, Mengmeng conceded, realizing that a forceful entry would likely lead to defeat against the dragon. Chapter 15. Emperor Xian, I am not alone with that. Mengmeng instructed Jiuling to descend from the clouds, arriving at the outskirts of Chaoga. Suppressing her cultivation, Mengmeng presented herself as an ordinary little girl, while Jiuling transformed into a burly figure with a thick beard. Jiuling, is this disguise sufficient? Mengmeng asked. Jiuling, uncertain, rubbed its nose and replied, I am not entirely sure. My master. Rarely did Jiuling venture into human territory. In truth, not only Jiuling, but most spirits and demons refrained from entering human lands, as the malevolent energies they carried could be detected by human fortune and subsequently eradicated. Of course, there existed some spirits and demons skilled in unique magical arts capable of mingling with humans unnoticed. It should suffice, Mengmeng declared as she stepped into the throng of people, noticing no immediate issues. Little did she know, Chaoga was a nexus of human fortune, and the dragon of human fortune would certainly take notice. However, in these times, King Zhou has been seduced by Daji, his heart captivated by beauty, and thus he has granted a general amnesty in Chaoga. Additionally, the Saint Nuwa covertly supports Daji, which has allowed malevolent forces to infiltrate Chaoga City. It is not only malicious spirits that pose a threat. The three teachings are equally involved. For instance, the two saints of the Western Church have long conspired in the East to revitalize their own realm and now seize the opportunity to control King Zhou's primordial spirit. Otherwise, with the protective aura of the human king, it would be impossible for even saints to lead him astray, let alone demons and monsters. At Skull Mountain, upon witnessing Mengmeng and Jiuling enter Chaoga City, Zhang Xuan felt a sense of relief. Within Chaoga, they are shielded by the fortune of humanity, and thus they are safe. After days of relentless tasks, his influence has expanded throughout the city, and Zhang Xuan has come to know every detail within Chaoga as if it were at his fingertips. He refrained from intervening in Mengmeng's affairs, allowing her to experience some hardship first. He then entered his dwelling to accompany the two blood cocoons that were on the verge of hatching. One of the cocoons had already begun to reveal a faint human shape. A smile graced Zhang Xuan's lips, his eyes brimming with anticipation. Friends, King Zhou is tyrannical, forcing us to construct the deer platform, indulging in debauchery without restraint. Can we simply submit to this fate? As Mengmeng and Jiuling approached the city gate, they suddenly noticed an individual standing upon a platform in front of a fortune-telling shop, proclaiming loudly. Below the platform, a crowd had gathered. Mengmeng opened her eyes wide. Observing the figure atop the platform, a wizened old man clad in a Taoist robe, his hair white as snow. Behind him, the fortune-telling shop displayed a couplet. Within the sleeves lies the universe vast. In the pot, the sun and moon endure. The crowd referred to this elder as Master Jiangshang. Could this old man be Jiangxia? Mengmeng exclaimed, her eyes wide with recognition. She often listened to her father's stories and was well versed in the tales of the Fengshen and journey to the west, familiar with certain names and anecdotes. Though she had never encountered them in person, seeing the elder gathering a crowd outside Chaoga and inciting the people's sentiments, Mengmeng recalled her father's tales. Jiangxia was commanded by King Zhou to construct the deer platform, yet he boldly advised a retreat via water. While this appeared loyal, the truth was otherwise. Jiangxia's fervent counsel was not for the sake of the world or the people's welfare, but rather to promote the teachings of the way. How could Jiangxia, with his rudimentary skills, lead so many refugees out of danger? There must be a hidden hand of the way aiding him. The purpose of this assistance was clear: to bolster the population of Chaoga, transport them to the west, and enhance the fortunes of the west. Observing Jiangshang on the platform speaking grandiloquently, the crowd below hung on his every word, entranced. Mengmeng rushed forward. Young master, what are you doing? Jiuling exclaimed in alarm. This is the imperial capital of the human king. It is no trivial matter. Even a saint would not be overly brazen here. Jiuling, this old man is not a good person. I must expose him. As Mengmeng spoke, she squeezed into the crowd, leaving Jing with no choice but to follow suit. Hey, old man, do not spread your deceitful words here, she boldly declared, drawing the attention of the throng. Jing turned to see a young child, barely out of infancy. A shadow of disdain flickered in his eyes. What audacity is this child displaying, meddling in my affairs? He thought, his heart swelling with indignation, though he maintained a facade of politeness. My young friend, you must be mistaken. How could I be guilty of such deceptive speech? Curiosity piqued, the crowd's gaze shifted to Mengmeng. She continued, Jing, you are the most incompetent and least qualified disciple of the primordial heavenly sovereign. Your celestial path has faltered, and thus you were cast down to experience worldly riches. However, King Zhu, wise and formidable, pays you no heed. Chog is not your arena for ambition, so you intend to abandon it for XQ. Seemingly aligning with a noble ruler, yet in truth, you seek personal gain, striving for the divine fate of the Chan sect. Her youthful words stirred a tempest among the crowd. Jing, shocked and furious, contemplated the audacity of this child who seemed to possess knowledge of the hidden truths. This is perilous. The crowd is murmuring, casting doubtful glances in my direction, he thought, his expression shifting dramatically. Damn this child. Just as I am on the verge of success, she intrudes. Everyone, Jing thundered. Do not heed the nonsensical babble of this impudent child. King Zhu is tyrannical, slaying wives and children, employing cruel tortures, and disregarding the sacred traditions of former kings, indulging in excess and debauchery, while dismissing all counsel and reveling in vice. My purpose in leading you away from Chog to XQ is to seek a wise ruler, not to seek personal glory. As he spoke, Jing turned his gaze upon Mengmeng. You, a mere child, how dare you incite such chaos and mislead the hearts of the people? What is your intent? The crowd's attention returned to Mengmeng, their expressions rife with skepticism. Is it not common knowledge that King Zhu is tyrannical? They murmured. Yet Mengmeng merely chuckled coldly and responded, Old man Jiying, you are the true purveyor of deceit. Why is King Zhu so cruel? Is it not due to your Chan sect's complicity in allowing the Western teachings to infiltrate the East, ensnaring King Zhu, deceiving the goddess Enhua, and deploying the 3 demons of Xianyuan to beguile him in pursuit of human destiny? Jiying's countenance shifted drastically upon hearing this. This child is no ordinary figure. She possesses knowledge of the secrets of the divine appointment, he thought, cursing under his breath. Silence. In an instant, a murderous intent ignited in his eyes as he bellowed. At that moment, an elderly woman spoke to Mengmeng. Child, you accuse Jiying of seeking personal gain. Yet, King Zhu's cruelty is a universally acknowledged truth. Another voice chimed in, indeed. In regard to the Lu Tai, one cannot fathom how many strong men have been conscripted. King Zhou shows no compassion for the common folk. How then can he claim to be wise and valiant? Mengmeng remarked, Grandmother, King Zhou's cruelty is merely superficial. His actions are a fade of endurance and burden. He possesses the demeanor of an emperor, yet also that of a ruler among men. Would he truly have the heart to see his subjects displaced, seeking refuge in foreign lands? Consider the city of Chaoga, flourishing and vibrant, where the populace lives in peace and abundance. Is this not sufficient? Furthermore, examine Chentang and other counties. Are they not equally prosperous? This alone suffices to demonstrate King Zhou's sagacity and might. His acquiescence to Daji in constructing the Lu Tai is merely a strategic maneuver. As an emperor, he contemplates the long term. His ambition is to lay the foundation for humanity's enduring legacy, to ensure the continuance of our race for countless millennia. Mengmeng's eloquence left Zhang Xuan and the others astonished, while Juling trembled in fear. My lord, please cease your words, Juling implored, unable to contain his apprehension. Yet Mengmeng, with her innate innocence, could not allow the truth to be obscured in these chaotic times. If the common people did not venture to Shiji, they might still enjoy a carefree existence in Chaoga. However, should they align with GFA, who would claim the heavens as his sovereign, humanity would ultimately become the slaves of the heavenly mandate for untold ages. No, I must speak. Mengmeng disregarded Juling's plea, her voice rising in fervor, her face flushed. Father often teaches me that humanity must strive for strength and take control of its destiny. Jiangzi's actions to lead the people of Chaoga to Shiji would only bring ruin to our kind. I shall not permit it. With her final declaration, she invoked her powers, her voice resonating like thunder, echoing throughout Chaoga. Above the city, ominous clouds gathered, and the air crackled with electric energy, heralding impending divine retribution. Yet Mengmeng stood undaunted, gazing skyward. Juling, witnessing this, trembled uncontrollably. And my lord, despite being a formidable being at the pinnacle of quasi-sainthood, he felt insignificant and humble beneath the weight of divine judgment. Suddenly, a resounding dragon's roar cleaved the heavens. A myriad of golden rays illuminated the sky, as the golden dragon of humanity's fortune roared in defiance, dispersing the divine punishment in an instant. What transpired? The commotion in Chaoga instantly drew the attention of the celestial saints. A booming laughter echoed from the star-picking tower, accompanied by an overwhelming imperial presence. I proclaim that I am not alone. I am not alone. Chapter 16. Nezha reforged. All hail the king. All hail the king. The voice of Emperor Xian resonated throughout Chaoga, prompting millions of citizens to kneel in reverence. At that moment, within the star-picking tower, Emperor Xian, clad in imperial robes and crowned, stood alone, gazing out toward the outskirts of Chaoga. Within the imperial gaze, there lies a blend of the brilliance proclaiming that my path is not solitary. The Emperor Xian, revered as the king of humanity, bears the weight of the fortunes of countless mortals. How could he ever be ensnared by the trivial seductions of the fox spirit, Daji? Not to mention Daji. Even the imprint of the Bodhi seed left by the sage Junti in his palace is well known to him. Yet, the king of humanity possesses no means of cultivation. How then could he contend with a demonic entity like Daji, who wields arcane arts? Moreover, erasing the primordial imprint of the sage Junti is beyond his reach. Therefore, Emperor Xian must feign enchantment, disguise his sagacity, and navigate through deception. This is merely to await the day when he might seize the opportunity to extinguish the Xianyuan Fox clan, overthrow the celestial saints, and elevate humanity above the heavens, achieving immortality for countless millennia. Regrettably, Emperor Xian was never able to find that opportunity, and could only watch helplessly as Daji wreaked havoc upon the imperial court. And the celestial saints toyed with humanity, seizing the chance presented by the canonization to divide the fortunes of humankind and suppress the human path. Humanity, when shall you awaken once more? With a heavy thud, Emperor Xian knelt atop the star-picking tower, tears streaming down his face. Thunder rumbled across the clear sky. The act of kneeling by the king of humanity is no trivial matter. As the king, Emperor Xian cherishes his people and strives to create countless blessings for them. The populace flourishes and enjoys peace, yet the celestial saints provoke strife among humanity under the guise of canonization, plunging them into turmoil. Emperor Xian is filled with rage, solitude, and despair. It is only upon hearing the innocent words from outside the city of Chaoga that he dares to pronounce that his path is not solitary. At this moment, tears of blood flow from Emperor Xian. As the king, he bears the responsibility for the well-being of the common folk. How could he bear to witness their displacement, their suffering, and their struggle for survival? Yet, to deceive Daji and the celestial saints, he willingly accepts the scorn of the world and becomes known as the tyrant in the mouths of the people. Emperor Xian's actions are solely for the sake of establishing righteousness in the world and ensuring the survival of the populace. As for Jichong, he is indeed a rebel and a traitor. For the sake of rebellion, he would devour the flesh of his own son, Bowie cow. Even a tiger, known for its ferocity, would not consume its own offspring. How much less so a man hailed as a sage? Is this truly sagehood? Do you not see that every minister in Chaoga possesses unwavering loyalty and dauntless courage, willing to offer their lives and counsel to the sovereign, regardless of the personal cost? Yet Jichong not only harbors rebellious intentions, but, for his own selfish desires, would resort to such heinous acts. What difference is there between his actions and those of a beast? Even if Emperor Xian is perceived as debauched in the eyes of the people, he has not descended to such depths. His two sons, Yin Jiao and Yin Hong, even after being seduced by the teachings of the transtheistic path, have not forgotten their roots. Their hearts remain steadfastly loyal to Chaoga. This reveals that in Chaoga, from the crown prince to the prime minister, and down to the common folk, all possess hearts brimming with loyalty and righteousness. With such ministers, how could Emperor Xian be deemed cruel and unfeeling? It is merely the result of rumors spread by those with ulterior motives, attempting to undermine the Shang dynasty and suppress the king of humanity. In Chaoga, who among the populace is not loyal and patriotic? Although Zhang Zia's wife, Madame Ma, often speaks harshly and quarrels with him, calling him worthless, the spirit of loyalty endures. However, this is merely the common sentiment of humanity. When Zhang Zia sought to rebel against Chaoga and flee to Shiji, the Ma clan steadfastly refused to betray Chaoga, choosing instead to follow Zhang Zia. Such loyalty and patriotism are worthy of celestial witness. This also reflects, from another perspective, the unity of the people within Chaoga. Only those with selfish motives harbor intentions to undermine Chaoga and torment the common folk. Zhang Zia is indeed a traitor and a thief. As Emperor Xian's words fell, the divine retribution dissipated, stirring the saints. The saints immediately summoned their divine sight to gaze upon Chaoga, witnessing the turbulent and roaring golden dragon of human fortune before it dispersed. Master, what does the upheaval of the human fortune golden dragon signify? Asked the sage Zhuan Ti from within the western realm of Mount Shumi. Beside him, Jiayin wore a countenance of enduring sorrow, lamenting the plight of humanity, and replied, Junior brother, there is no need for alarm. It is merely the unwillingness of King Xian. A hint of sarcasm graced Jiayin's lips. Upon hearing this, Zhuan Ti stroked his beard and smiled slightly, saying, Indeed, indeed. Though Emperor Xian is of sound mind, he cannot escape the spiritual imprint I have left behind. He is likely overwhelmed by anger, and the heart of the king is in disarray. Jiayin and Zhuan Ti exchanged knowing smiles. Jiayin remarked, In this case, it seems that Emperor Xian's self-destruction is all but assured. At Shiyang Mountain, the Taiji sage heard the voice of Emperor Xian and merely lifted his gaze slightly, then chose to disregard it. Similarly, at Kunlun Mountain, the Yuanshi Tianzun sensed the commotion in Chaoga. However, like the Taiji sage, he glanced once and then paid it no further mind, for in his view, it was merely an act of impotent rage from Emperor Xian. Subsequently, Yuanshi Tianzun turned his attention to the kneeling figure of the South Pole elder. South Pole, did you say that Nezha has been slain again? The South Pole bowed his head and replied, Yes, master. He was killed by a young girl. Judging by her age, she is no different from Nezha. Yuanshi Tianzun nodded and calculated for a moment with his fingers, stating, This may indeed be Nezha's destined tribulation. Let us not dwell on it for now. Go to Skull Mountain and see if you can find Taiyi. Although Yuanshi Tianzun could not ascertain Taiyi's whereabouts, he deduced from Mengmeng that there were clues suggesting Taiyi might be in the vicinity of Skull Mountain. Yes, master. The South Pole accepted the command and departed. At the Nuwa Palace, the maidservant Bixiao reported, Your Highness, Ling Zhuzi's soul is wandering aimlessly and has arrived outside the palace. Upon hearing this, Nuwa furrowed her brows and said, Let him enter. Bixiao then guided Nezha's spirit into the palace. I bow before your highness. Please save me. Nezha cried out upon seeing Nuwa. Nuwa frowned and asked, Nezha, how did you come to be in such a state? Nezha recounted the events, and upon hearing them, Nuwa was immediately filled with rage. How outrageous! How dare they kill one of my own? This is truly an affront to the sacred. Nuwa was already angered by the lascivious poems inscribed at the Nuwa temple by Emperor Xan, and her fury only deepened. At this moment, the spirit pearl was infuriated after being slain twice. After her birthday, Nuwa felt that everything was going awry. Spirit pearl, come forth. I shall assist you in reconstructing your physical form, Nuwa proclaimed. Upon hearing this, Nezha was overjoyed and hurried over. Subsequently, with the immense power of a sage and the principles of creation, along with the lotus roots from her palace, Nuwa began to reshape Nezha's body. In no time, Nezha's physical form was restored. This transformation not only made Nezha's body more perfect, but also elevated his cultivation to the early stage of quasi-saint. Kneeling in gratitude, he expressed, Thank you, Your Highness, Spirit Pearl. Nuwa replied, You remain Nezha. The time has come for the human race to witness the fall of the Yinshang dynasty and the rise of the West Qi. You shall descend to the mortal realm for now and, when the time is ripe, ally with West Qi under Zhang Xia. Although Nezha felt displeased at the prospect of serving Zhang Xia, he replied, Yes, Your Highness, and promptly descended to the mortal realm. This time, Nezha intended to locate that little scoundrel and eliminate him. In Chaoga, the crowd lay prostrated on the ground. Mengmeng lifted her gaze and scanned the area, only to find that Zhang Xia had vanished without a trace. He certainly runs swiftly, she thought, gritting her teeth in frustration. How audacious! Did you not hear the king's divine command? Why do you not kneel? Suddenly, a soldier from the Yinshang pointed at Mengmeng and shouted, Step back. An elderly man clad in splendid garments approached. I present to you, Prime Minister Biyun, the crowd announced. Biyun declared, The king has decreed that this girl shall be presented before him. Chapter 17. The birth of the second daughter, a destroyer or merely a performer. At Skeleton Mountain. Upon seeing Mengmeng summoned to the palace by Xian, Zhang Xuan withdrew his gaze. Given that his domain encompassed Chaoga, he harbored no concerns regarding Mengmeng's fate. Even if Mengmeng were to perish, he could effortlessly revive her with a mere thought. Before embarking on tasks or other endeavors, Zhang Xuan had also established a barrier within his domain, ensuring that Mengmeng could not exit its confines without his permission, thus safeguarding her well-being. As usual, Zhang Xuan donned his hat, took up his fishing rod and basket, and made his way to the riverbank. Upon arrival, he beheld the azure waters shimmering under the sunlight. The mountains reflected in the river creating a picturesque scene, lush and vibrant, exuding tranquility and elegance, evoking a sense of artistry. Indeed, this was the only place within Skeleton Mountain where the scenery was as poetic as a painting. Elsewhere, the atmosphere was thick with malevolence, and the ground was littered with bones piled high. Zhang Xuan settled on a stone pier by the river and began to fish. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of crimson, he finally reeled in his line, noticing that the range of his domain had expanded significantly. With the passage of time, the speed of its expansion had notably increased, filling Zhang Xuan with delight. Whistling a cheerful tune, he returned to his estate, only to hear a loud thud emanating from the courtyard. With a sudden crash, it seemed as though something had been broken. Immediately after, a childish voice reached Zhang Xuan's ears. Hey, that tree, don't run away. I've damaged you. Hearing the voice, Zhang Xuan could not help but be momentarily taken aback, followed by a surge of delight. Has the little one arrived? He hastily made his way into the estate. Upon entering, he beheld a little girl, clad in a red belly band, her skin soft and rosy, appearing to be around 3 or 4 years old, energetically pursuing a tree spirit that had already attained sentience. This tree spirit had once been an ordinary tree in Lingyun Manor, but after years of absorbing spiritual essence, it had now reached the realm of a great immortal. Witnessing this scene, Zhang Xuan felt a headache coming on. This mischievous child, already seeking a fight upon her arrival? She was even more ferocious than when Mengmeng was born. Back then, Mengmeng's emergence had shaken the very foundations of Skull Mountain. Yet, despite that, after bursting forth from her blood cocoon and smashing a mountain with a single blow, she had remained quite well behaved. Of course, that had been after Zhang Xuan had given her a good thrashing. However, the little girl before him seemed to be a little violent. Second young mistress, please stop. Don't hit me. The tree spirit, in a panic, cried out while shielding its head, now adorned with several lumps, looking utterly disheveled. If you continue like this, you'll demolish the entire manor. As the tree spirit was caught and ridden upon by the girl, she rained down punches with her tiny fists. She exclaimed in a babyish voice, "Hey, Daddy said that the manor cannot be destroyed. As for you, you seem quite resilient." Thud, thud, thud. Her little fists fell like raindrops upon the tree spirit, which, despite being a 1,000-year-old entity, felt as though its very bones would break under the onslaught. At the entrance, Taiyi trembled in fear, his body quaking. Oh, countless heavens! What kind of beings inhabit this manor? Master, I wish to return to Kunlun Mountain. Taiyi lamented deeply, crouching low as if trying to bury his head in the ground, his backside sticking out like an ostrich. He silently chanted, "If I can't be seen, I can't be seen. Hey, monster, you shouldn't lecture me. You ought to beg for mercy like those monsters in Journey to the West. Just as my father taught." The little girl continued to strike while speaking. Even before her birth, she and her unborn sibling had listened to Zhang Xuan's stories every day, thus knowing many things prior to their arrival. Yes, yes, this old servant begs for mercy. Please, second young mistress, show some grace. Bang. Ah, woe is me. Second young mistress, please stop. If you keep hitting me, I might truly perish. Upon hearing this, the little girl jumped down from the tree spirit and clapped her hands, declaring, boring. There isn't a single opponent worth fighting in this garden. I might as well look outside for something more challenging. Her mischievous eyes twinkled with excitement. Zhang Xuan's expression darkened. This little rascal enjoyed fighting even more than Mengmeng. Zhang Xuan was beset by a throbbing headache, while Mengmeng possessed immense strength. It seemed that Nan was a veritable harbinger of destruction. Observing the once picturesque courtyard now reduced to ruin, with the decorative hills and pavilions in shambles, Zhang Xuan found himself at a loss for words. He took a deep breath and slowly spoke, "Nan." Upon hearing his voice, Nan exclaimed with delight, "Daddy," and dashed towards him. Seizing this moment, the tree spirit fled in haste. "Daddy, you're back?" She chirped as she leapt into Zhang Xuan's embrace, her enchanting eyes sparkling and her long lashes fluttering gently. In that moment, Zhang Xuan felt a wave of nostalgia wash over him. He mused, what a charming little rascal. Not only is she a destroyer, but also a drama queen. If I hadn't witnessed that scene earlier, I might have believed she was an obedient little angel. Cold sweat trickled down his forehead. Well, he nodded, mustering a faint smile. Nan, have you been well behaved while I was away? Puffing out her chest, Nan confidently declared, "Daddy, of course, I've been very good. I'm nothing like my big sister." At this, Zhang Xuan felt a surge of frustration. It was evident that this little one was indeed a performer. If you were truly well behaved, how could the courtyard be in such disarray? Yet, he chose not to confront her, responding instead, our Nan is the best at being good. Now, starting today, Daddy will teach you your lessons." Nan's face fell, and she protested, "Daddy, no. I've heard enough of that before I was even born. I don't want to attend class. I want to go play with my big sister. By the way, where is she?" Zhang Xuan replied earnestly, "Your big sister is not at home. She has ventured out to explore the world. If you wish to find her, it will only be possible if what?" Nan asked, her bright eyes wide with curiosity. Zhang Xuan pondered for a moment, considering how to prevent this little imp from becoming too unruly, like her sister, who was solely focused on escaping the skeleton mountain. He glanced towards a distant mountain and said, "Unless you can shatter that towering mountain with a single punch, Daddy will not allow you to go out." Nan turned to look at the mountain, which loomed at least 7,000 or 8,000 meters high. "Daddy, are you serious?" she asked, sucking her thumb. "Absolutely," Zhang Xuan affirmed with a smile. "Daddy, let's make a pinky promise." "All right," Zhang Xuan replied cheerfully, extending his finger. "Pinky swear, 100 years without changing." Nan beamed. Yet there was a glint of mischief in her expression that sent an inexplicable shiver down Zhang Xuan's spine. Sure enough, the very next moment, Nan wriggled free from his embrace and, with a swift motion, landed on the ground. She then raised her tiny fist and shouted, "Ha! Watch me." In an instant, a terrifying force of destruction descended upon the mountain, causing it to disintegrate before their eyes. Chapter 18. This mountain I have carved, this tree I have planted. If you wish to pass, leave a toll. Father, how about it? Am I impressive? With uncontainable excitement, the little girl gleefully exclaimed, having just shattered a mountain rivaling the grandeur of Mount Everest with a mere punch. Her enchanting, deep-set eyes sparkled with anticipation as they gazed at Zhang Xuan. seemingly pleading. Praise me, do praise me. Zhang Xuan, somewhat exasperated, responded, Indeed, you are remarkable. Of course you are. Upon hearing this, the little girl joyfully declared, So, may I go look for my elder sister now? Certainly, Zhang Xuan affirmed. Once the words were spoken, he could not retract them, especially since he had already made a promise with the little girl. Wow! The little girl leapt with delight, exclaiming, I can venture into the world just like my sister. Hold on, little one. Zhang Xuan's expression darkened as he remarked, You are but newly born, clamoring to seek your sister. Do you not wish to stay with your father? After all, your father has toiled tirelessly, bestowing upon you the essence of spirit, allowing you to emerge from your cocoon. At his words, the little girl blinked her eyes, suddenly breaking into a giggle. Father, are you feeling jealous? Haha. Zhang Xuan merely wished to prevent this mischievous child from venturing out too soon. After all, she had only just entered the world and was unaware of its perils. Yet, it seemed that he indeed harbored a hint of jealousy. All right. Do not be saddened. Father, I promise you, she said, extending her chubby little hand to pat Zhang Xuan's head. I will stay with you for a while before seeking my sister. Upon hearing this, Zhang Xuan finally smiled. Good. You have my word on it. In the Yinshang dynasty, at the star-picking tower in Chaoga, at that moment, the minister Biyun had brought the little girl before King Zhou of Shang, Dxin. The little girl curiously surveyed the grandeur of the star-picking tower. The palace stood tall and majestic, adorned with jade and embellished with gems, its railings crafted from agate, and beams decorated with luminous pearls, radiating brilliance and auspiciousness in the night. How beautiful! The little girl exclaimed in wonder. Little miss, quickly pay your respects to the king, Biyun coughed gently, reminding her. The girl, pulled from her reverie by the opulence of the tower, raised her gaze to behold a robust middle-aged man clad in imperial robes standing before the jade stone altar. His countenance was chiseled as though sculpted from stone, and atop his imperial crown, a golden dragon coiled majestically, exuding an aura of authority. It was none other than King Zhou, Dxin. Before the girl could speak, Dxin smiled gently and said, Uncle Biyun, the little girl is young. There is no need for formality. You may withdraw for now. Biyun replied. As you command, your majesty. I shall take my leave. As Biyun stepped back, Dxin gestured, Little miss, please take a seat. I shall pour you some tea. The king invited her to sit upon the throne and personally poured tea for the little girl, displaying a warm and amiable demeanor. It is not as people claim, cruel and unfeeling. Mengmeng is more resolute, believing wholeheartedly that her father speaks the truth. Dxin gazes at Mengmeng, his eyes sparkling with intrigue. At such a tender age, her ability to perceive the heart of Dxin is indeed remarkable. Great sage, allow me to bow before you. Dxin suddenly bowed deeply to Mengmeng. She hurriedly stepped aside, exclaiming, Oh, please do not bow to me. My father has said that the position of the king of humanity is comparable to that of the Tao ancestor. How could an ordinary person accept such a bow from the king? One would bear the weight of karma. At her words, Dxin was momentarily taken aback, saying, If that is the case, then I shall refrain from bowing. Great sage. Mengmeng chuckled. Your majesty, please do not refer to me as great sage. Just call me Mengmeng. Dxin replied. Mengmeng, in this world, only you can truly comprehend my thoughts. If not great sage, then what else could you be? Mengmeng pouted. I do not understand at all. Hearing this, Dxin furrowed his brow slightly, stating, If you do not understand, then no one in the world can understand. Otherwise, you would not have spoken those words on the outskirts of the city. Mengmeng waved her hand. Your majesty, I truly do not understand. This is all what my father has told me. Upon hearing this, Dxion's body trembled with astonishment, and his eyes surged with tumultuous waves of emotion, filled with boundless joy. So, you mean to say that the great sage is your father? Dxion exclaimed with great excitement. Mengmeng, might it be possible for me to meet your father? I wish to seek his counsel. Mengmeng replied, Of course. My father is very approachable. However, if you wish to meet him, you must agree to one thing. Speak freely, Mengmeng. For matters I can accomplish, I would not hesitate to leap through fire or water, Dxion declared. Just then, a subordinate entered to report. General Li Jing of Chentang Pass is here with an imperial edict. Li Jing? Dxion paused in surprise, saying, Inform him to wait. I have an esteemed guest to attend to. Mengmeng interjected, Dxion, I know Li Jing. Why not let him in directly? Dxion nodded. Summon Li Jing. He then turned to Mengmeng, saying, Mengmeng, you have yet to tell me what I must agree to. Mengmeng replied, Your Majesty. Dxion waved his hand. Mengmeng, there is no need for formality. Just address me as Dxion. Mengmeng was taken aback. Ah, is that permissible? Dxian smiled. Why not? Are we not friends? At this, Mengmeng's spirits lifted. Haha. Yes. Dxian and I are friends now. Dxian, I want you to promise me this. Help me find my mother. I once asked General Li for assistance, but I do not have a portrait of my mother. General Li said that as the king of humanity, you possess dominion over all the land and can surely help me find her. Hearing this, Dxian was momentarily stunned, saying, Mengmeng, rest assured. I shall dispatch people to search throughout the realm. Should there be any news, I will certainly inform you. Before long, Li Jing arrived. Upon witnessing Mengmeng and Dxian conversing with ease and laughter, he could not help but be greatly astonished. With a single utterance, Li Jing knelt and said, Your Majesty, the young and naive Mengmeng, I implore you, do not impose punishment. Dxian, however, smiled faintly and replied, General Li, it is of no consequence. I find a kindred spirit in Mengmeng. We converse quite well. Would I ever hold her accountable? You may return to Chentang now and ensure the defense of the pass. I obey your command. Li Jing responded as he withdrew, feeling a sense of relief. Yet, a perplexing thought lingered in his mind. He sensed that today, the king was different from usual. As soon as Li Jing exited the star-picking tower, Dxian immediately issued a decree to search the realm for Mengmeng's mother. Once the edict was proclaimed, he inquired, Mengmeng, when shall we meet your father? Mengmeng replied, We can go now. Dxian remarked, People say you are tyrannical. Yet I perceive you differently. Dxian managed a wry smile and said, Mengmeng, in truth, there are fleeting moments in my day when my mind is clear. Such as now. Within my consciousness lies the imprint of the primordial saint. Whenever I act in favor of humanity or perform the deeds of a wise ruler, I am beset by confusion and dizziness, leading me to commit unjust and mad acts. Each time I regain clarity, I am left in profound anguish. That Western saint has caused me great suffering. As he spoke, tears of blood streamed down Dxian's face. Observing his distress, Mengmeng, despite her youth, could sense the agony of a sovereign. Yet, though he understood this, Dxian felt powerless to change his fate, forced to witness the deaths of loyal subjects. The loss of virtuous wives, and the separation from kin. He clutched his head in torment, his powerful frame trembling. That pain cut to the very marrow of his bones. Who, in this world, could comprehend his heart? Mengmeng spoke, Dxian. My father once said that the realm of the human king stands shoulder to shoulder with the Tao ancestor. You can harness the essence of the human king to dispel the saint's imprint. Thus, you would not fall prey to temptation. Hearing this, Dxian chuckled bitterly and replied, Mengmeng, how could I be unaware? I possess the essence of the human king, equal to that of the saints. Yet, I lack the means to channel this power. Upon hearing this, Mengmeng suddenly understood, so that is the case. Dxian, you wish to meet my father to seek guidance on how to wield the essence of the human king? Dxian nodded solemnly, indeed. He then asked, Mengmeng, where is your home? Skull Mountain. Mengmeng answered, Skull Mountain? Dxian furrowed his brows. It lies several thousand miles from Chaoga. If we venture there, it may consume considerable time. I fear that on the journey, that wretched primordial saint may tempt me again. At that point, I could become tyrannical and tempestuous, earning the title of a foolish ruler. Mengmeng laughed. Dxian, fear not. I will take you there. I can fly, and my pet, Jiuling, can also fly. You shall accompany me on Jiuling to Skull Mountain. Dxian's spirits soared. Mengmeng, that would be splendid. Hurry, time is of the essence. With that, Emperor Xian temporarily entrusted state affairs to bygone. Mengmeng summoned Jiuling, and together they mounted the creature's back, soaring towards Skull Mountain. Day after day, they approached the ominous peak, borne by Jiuling. Suddenly, a streak of light rushed towards them with great fervor. Mengmeng commanded Jiuling to halt and gazed ahead. Halt. This mountain was carved by my hand, and this tree was planted by me. If you wish to pass, leave a toll. Chapter 19. The destruction of the ancestor which by the matriarch of strength a tender voice rang out, sweet and innocent. Mengmeng focused her gaze and beheld a girl, seemingly 3 or 4 years old, standing atop a cloud. The little girl, barehanded, sported a high ponytail, her chubby form and fair, delicate skin evoking an immediate sense of kinship in Mengmeng's heart. A wave of joy washed over her as she thought, could it be that Nuan has come into the world? She then inquired, Are you Nuan? The girl blinked in surprise and replied, Huh, how do you know my name? Mengmeng chuckled, Not only do I know your name, but I also know you reside at Lingyun Manor. Upon hearing this, Nuan, with a feisty tone, demanded, How do you know? Who exactly are you? Mengmeng laughed softly, her expression playful. Nuan, do you truly not recognize me? Nuan, sucking on her thumb and tilting her head in contemplation, finally remarked, your voice sounds a bit like my elder sister. Before her birth, Mengmeng often conversed with Yuan, and the familiar sound of Mengmeng's voice struck a chord within her. Haha, you are quite right, Yuan. I am indeed your elder sister, Mengmeng, she declared. However, Yuan remained skeptical, stating, your voice is similar, but that doesn't necessarily mean you are my sister. Perhaps you are a transformed monster. Father says the world is treacherous, and one must always be cautious. With a sigh, Mengmeng raised her hands in surrender. What will it take for you to believe me? Sitting atop Jiuling, Emperor Xin observed the exchange with curiosity. Yuan proclaimed, unless you can defeat me, and waved her little fists. Mengmeng's expression darkened. All right, if you seek a fight, then come. Naturally, Mengmeng, with her indomitable spirit, would not back down from Yuan's challenge. Moreover, as the elder sister, it was her duty to assert her dominance early on. Otherwise, Yuan and the little one would surely become unruly in the future. Prepare yourself, Yuan shouted, her energy surging as she charged at Mengmeng. Unfazed, Mengmeng retaliated with a punch. A thunderous crash resonated as her fist struck Yuan's head, igniting a shower of sparks and shaking the very ground beneath them. Ouch, that hurts. The child cradled her small head, wincing in pain. Haha, surely now you must believe me. Mengmeng laughed heartily. The child, indignant, retorted again. With a thunderous roar, she soared upward, her hair braids shooting straight into the sky. An overwhelming aura of malevolence enveloping her. In the blink of an eye, the dark energy within a 100-mile radius surged into her being. Simultaneously, her form visibly began to ascend. Surrounded by a swirling tempest of black energy, akin to flames, she soon reached an astonishing height of 100,000 zhang. Witnessing this spectacle, Mengmeng gasped in astonishment, exclaiming, the true form of the ancestor witch? This is impossible. A storm of disbelief surged within her. After all, she had only awakened her own true form around this time last year. Yet, here was the child, newly born, already capable of transforming into the ancestor witch. This was exceedingly outrageous. Nevertheless, now was not the time for astonishment, for the child was already charging forward, slicing through the air. A long wave of energy trailing behind her. Do not be so arrogant. Do you think you are the only one capable of transformation? I can do it too. Mengmeng bellowed. Leaping off the back of Jiuling, she seized the moment, leading Dixin away from the battlefield. These two little ancestors might just obliterate Skeleton Mountain. With a deafening roar, Mengmeng transformed, instantly matching the child's height of 100,000 zhang, surrounded by an aura of terrifying power. Meanwhile, the child was enveloped by destructive forces, charging forth, shouting, prepare to fight. Boom. Above Skeleton Mountain, the two giants clashed violently, shaking the heavens and earth. Casting a pall of doom, thunder cracked in the sky, flames erupted into the air. The myriad beings residing on Skeleton Mountain, sensing the overwhelming might, fled deep into their caves, trembling in fear. Standing before the White Bone Cave, Shiji looked up at the sky, pondering, I truly wonder about the origins of Zhang Xuan. His offspring are increasingly formidable. Initially, she thought Mengmeng was impressive, yet the child was equally remarkable. Wait, the true form of the ancestor witch. In an instant, Shiji's expression shifted dramatically, exclaiming, are Mengmeng and the child ancestor witches? Whose offspring are they? Is Zhang Xuanren's wife an ancestor witch? Shiji's countenance fluctuated, considering, among the 12 ancestor witches, only Xianming and Hutu are female. She contemplated further. Could it be Hutan Yang or Xianming ancestor witch? However, even if they are ancestor witches, they shouldn't be able to transform at such a young age, right? Setting aside Shiji's shock at this moment, Mengmeng and the child had already ignited sparks of conflict. Bang! Mengmeng's fist struck the child's face, causing it to cave in. Haha, Nan, you look so ugly. Mengmeng laughed uproariously. How infuriating. The child seethed, retaliating with a punch of her own. With a resounding thud, the punch sent Mengmeng soaring through the air, crashing against a colossal mountain reaching 10,000 meters. She was left in a state of disarray. Haha, you're in trouble too, aren't you? Nan exclaimed joyfully, secretly thinking, at last, apart from father, there is someone capable of a fight on this Skeleton Mountain. Mengmeng soared back, launching herself forcefully at Nan, who was caught off guard and knocked down. A thunderous roar echoed as the immense ancestral spirit's true form obliterated the towering mountain, creating a vast chasm in the earth. Seizing the opportunity, Mengmeng mounted Nan, raining down punches like a torrential downpour. Thud, thud, thud. Each blow landed with force, leaving Nan dizzy. her vision clouded with stars and bursts of fire. Ouch! Nan Nan grimaced in pain, desperately attempting to roll over, but was firmly pinned down by Mengmeng. Simultaneously, Mengmeng silently thought, "Thankfully, I possess great strength. Otherwise, if it were my sister receiving this punch, it might have broken her bones." Indeed, father was right. One must discipline younger siblings early. Once the little one is born, a thorough beating is in order. Poor little one, even before entering the world, is already destined for a thrashing. Mengmeng now understood that while Nan Nan wielded the principle of destruction, her own principle was one of strength. Though her power was formidable, it lacked the destructive force of Nan Nan's abilities. "Please, dear sister, stop hitting me. I concede." Nan Nan cried out in anguish, pleading for mercy. Hearing this, Mengmeng let out a quiet sigh of relief. She then called out, "You truly concede? No more fighting?" "Indeed. I sincerely admit defeat. I recognize you as the elder sister." Nan Nan replied earnestly. Upon hearing this, Mengmeng finally loosened her grip. Nan Nan gasped for breath, taking a while to recover. At Lingyun Manor, Zhang Xuan observed that the two little tyrants had finally ceased their antics and breathed a sigh of relief, though a headache loomed on the horizon for the days to come. These two chapters serve as a transitional narrative. I kindly ask everyone to continue reading. Your votes are greatly appreciated. Thank you, dear readers. Chapter 20. The Solar Fist. Just as Mengmeng released her grip, Nan Nan's eyes twinkled with mischief. Suddenly, she unleashed a mighty shout. In an instant, her small hands spread wide, positioned at her temples. Bright, blinding light erupted forth. At that moment, Mengmeng felt as though she were enveloped in an overwhelming whiteness, unable to discern anything around her, momentarily blinded. "Oh no!" Mengmeng gasped in alarm, her fury igniting. What kind of trick is this? That cunning little girl, she's incorrigible. With no clear sense of direction, Mengmeng could only retreat hastily. "Hee, big sister, this is the Solar Fist." Nan Nan's voice chimed in suddenly, sending a chill down Mengmeng's spine. Without giving Mengmeng a moment to prepare, a loud bang erupted as her body was struck, propelled forward like a cannonball. In an instant, she collided with countless mountains, the reverberations echoing through the vast expanse of Skull Mountain. Fortunately, her blindness was brief, and her vision soon returned. She then saw Yuan gazing at her pitifully, saying, "Sister, I'm so sorry, I hit you." Infuriated, Mengmeng retorted, "How can you be so cunning? You lack honor. You clearly conceded." In the distance, Zhang Xuan observed this scene, rubbing his forehead in exasperation, muttering to himself about Mengmeng's fierce temperament and Yuan's clever, mischievous nature. He feared that Mengmeng might be at a disadvantage. Yuan, with an innocent smile, replied, "Sister, Daddy said that all's fair in war. This is strategy, do you understand?" Upon hearing this, Mengmeng huffed, "Fine, you win this round." Soon after, her curiosity piqued, she inquired, "Yuan, what kind of power did you just use? Aren't you supposed to be bound by the laws of destruction? Why did it emit white light? Is Daddy being partial, teaching you but not me?" In the distance, Zhang Xuan sighed, realizing Mengmeng had misunderstood their father. Yuan then chimed in with her sweet voice, "Hee, sister, Daddy didn't teach me that. I was born knowing the Solar Fist." Taken aback, Mengmeng scrutinized Yuan, and as if suddenly enlightened, asked, "Yuan, besides the law of destruction, do you control another law? After all, every ancestral shaman is born with mastery over a specific law. For instance, Emperor Zhang excels in the law of space, and Gong is adept in water laws. I specialize in the law of strength, much like Pangu. This is why Daddy encouraged my training in the 9 transformations of Xian Yuan." Yuan, with a nod, eagerly babbled, Yes, sister, besides the law of destruction, I also control the law of light." Hearing this, Mengmeng inquired, "So, you named your power the Solar Fist? Why is that?" Yuan huffed proudly, "Sister, you're so silly. In Daddy's story about the Dragon Balls, Krillin uses the Solar Fist, so I decided to name my ability that too." Mengmeng burst into laughter, pointing at Yuan. "Oh, so you like bald monks?" Yuan, hands on her hips and feigning anger, exclaimed, "Not at all. I like the Solar Fist, not bald monks. And even if I liked bald monks, it would be the upright, righteous, and kind Krillin. As for those Western monks, I don't like them at all. Even when I was still in the blood cocoon, I heard Daddy speak of the tales regarding the Western teachings. These two saints have become synonymous with shamelessness amidst the primordial chaos." Unbeknownst to the two sisters engaged in conversation, a shadow lurked behind a boulder in the distance. Trembling uncontrollably, infinite celestial venerable, are these two little beings the ancestral witches? Their terrifying destructive power is truly fearsome. The South Pole celestial elder quivered. In truth, The South Pole had received a decree from the Primordial Celestial Venerable, making his way to Skull Mountain solely to trace the whereabouts of Taiyi. However, upon entering the territory of Skull Mountain, he witnessed a fierce battle between two ancestral witches, with the very heavens and earth shaking. Terrified, the South Pole quickly concealed his presence, fearing discovery. At that moment, he shivered, beads of cold sweat trickling down. He had witnessed the fierce clash between Mengmeng and Nan with clarity. The might displayed could only be rivaled by the 12 ancestral witches of old, as well as the sovereigns of the demon tribe, Biyun and Taiyi. Indeed, it might have even surpassed them. For a fleeting moment, the South Pole nearly believed he was amidst the battlefield of the witch and demon war at Mount Buzhou. How could ancestral witches be present in Skull Mountain? With these two ancestral witches dominating this place, how could he possibly find his junior brother Taiyi? No, this matter is of great importance. I must return and inform my master. With this thought, the South Pole resolved to leave and return to Kunlun Mountain. However, in the next instant, he suddenly felt the world spinning around him, and before he knew it, he found himself in a manor. The South Pole was taken aback. What is happening? An ominous premonition surged within him. He then raised his gaze and beheld a tall figure before him, dressed in snow-white robes. With long hair flowing and eyes like starlit constellations, the figure emanated an indescribable aura. This presence was something the South Pole had only felt emanating from the Tao ancestor Hongjun. Who are you? What brings you here? Zhang Xuan spoke in a calm tone. As their eyes met, the South Pole felt as if he were plummeting into an abyss, lost within the vast universe. Unable to extricate himself, sweat poured down his face as he fell to his knees, unable to contain himself. Respected one, I am the South Pole Celestial Elder, a disciple of the Primordial Celestial Venerable. I have come to seek my junior brother Taiyi. My intrusion is entirely unintentional. I beseech your forgiveness. The South Pole stammered, drenched in sweat, as the overwhelming pressure from Zhang Xuan bore down upon him, akin to countless mountains crushing his back. It felt as if a slight misstep would lead to irreversible doom. Primordial Celestial Venerable? Zhang Xuan cast a glance at the stunned Taiyi, who stood at the entrance. Ah! Taiyi exclaimed, South Pole senior brother, I am here. Hurry and tell our master to come save me. What good is it for you to come alone? Taiyi lamented, but no one could comprehend his cries. Since you are here, you might as well stay in the estate from now on. Your junior brother, Taiyi, is there and feels rather lonely. Having your company would be quite delightful. With a swift gesture, Zhang Xuan pointed, and a beam of white light enveloped Nanji. In the next moment, under Taiyi's astonished and exhilarated gaze, Nanji transformed into a white deer. Meh. The white deer cried out in panic, conveying a message of despair. No. Please no. However, as the words formed on its lips, they morphed into the bleating of a deer. Nanji felt tears welling up within, utterly bereft of hope. Nevertheless, as the saying goes, humans have their language, and beasts have theirs. After becoming a white deer, Nanji was able to comprehend Taiyi's braying. Taiyi, you, what are you doing here? And you've turned into a wild donkey? Taiyi sighed, saying, Brother, we are indeed cursed. Allow me to explain. The two brothers, Nanji and Taiyi, engaged in heartfelt conversation, sharing their sentiments, and could not help but shed tears. However, to outsiders, their dialogue was incomprehensible, merely a cacophony of strange sounds. Meh. Of course, Zhang Xuan would not permit Nanji to leave. Nanji had witnessed Mengmeng and Nan revealing their true ancestral forms, and Zhang Xuan was resolute in keeping Nanji close. While Zhang Xuan could have eliminated Nanji, the latter's transgressions did not warrant such a fate. Meanwhile, after finishing their conversation, Mengmeng and Nan, hand in hand, strolled toward the estate, laughing merrily. Dixin had dismounted from the back of Juling and followed closely behind. Sister, what is the name of your pet? Juling? With 9 lion heads. Its golden hair is soft and smooth. It looks so majestic. Nan exclaimed with envy. In the future, I too wish to find a pet. Ideally, one that can soar through the skies. Mengmeng replied, Juling does not have wings, yet it can fly. Nan responded, No, I mean a pet that has wings. Upon entering the estate, Mengmeng and Nan chorused together, Father. Chapter 21. Dixin's fury. You too. Is it proper to bicker the moment you meet? Zhang Xuan's expression turned stern as he addressed his daughters. Father, it was Nan who insisted on fighting. Mengmeng protested. That's not true. It was my sister who started it. Nan shot back. You. Mengmeng fumed. Nan, you truly are a villain who cries foul first. Seeing the two little ones on the verge of another quarrel, Zhang Xuan felt a headache coming on. Enough. Silence. He commanded. Go reflect under the wisdom tea tree. Remember, while in Skull Mountain, It was acceptable, but in the future, unless absolutely necessary, do not transform into your ancestral forms. Do you understand? Upon witnessing Zhang Xuan's stern demeanor, the two little ones felt tears welling in their eyes. Sniffing as they nodded, "We understand, father." They then made their way to the wisdom tea tree. Watching their retreating figures, Zhang Xuan couldn't help but shake his head in resignation. To prevent them from revealing the true form of their ancestral witch in public, it is feared that discovery would lead to retribution from the saints and the heavenly order. The calamity of the witch and the lich has already concluded, and they have withdrawn from the grand stage of the primordial world. The heavenly order will never permit the descendants of Pangu to resurface in this realm. Currently, the extent of influence has not yet enveloped the entirety of the primordial world. Thus, Zhang Xuan must refrain from allowing the young ones to be overly conspicuous. Should the heavenly order take notice, the consequences would be dire. It would be manageable if they remained within the confines of their domain, but should they venture beyond, even Zhang Xuan would be powerless. The two young ones ventured into the orchard, prompting Emperor Xian to approach Zhang Xuan with a sense of trepidation. After a moment of contemplation, Emperor Xian bowed deeply and said, "I am the junior, Emperor Xian, paying my respects to the esteemed elder." As Emperor Xian is of the same generation as Mengmeng, it is only fitting for him to address Zhang Xuan as an elder. Zhang Xuan, however, remained unperturbed. Even if it were another, be it the Dao ancestor Hongjun, none would dare to accept a bow from Emperor Xian. Yet, in this place, Skull Mountain, Zhang Xuan is an omnipotent being. Thus, he could easily bear the bow of Emperor Xian. "Emperor Xian, your purpose for coming is already known to me," Zhang Xuan remarked, casting a glance at Emperor Xian. Hearing this, Emperor Xian was filled with excitement. From the first moment, he laid eyes on Zhang Xuan. He recognized that the person before him was undoubtedly a transcendent sage. The aura exuded a sense of majesty, akin to towering mountains, unfathomable and profound as depths or prisons. "Elder, could you possibly guide me on the methods to harness the fortune of the human race?" Emperor Xian implored eagerly. Zhang Xuan replied nonchalantly, "I can teach you." Upon hearing this, Emperor Xian was overjoyed. However, before he could articulate his thoughts, Zhang Xuan continued, "I can indeed instruct you, but why should I do so?" At these words, Emperor Xian's previously animated form suddenly stiffened. After a moment of contemplation, he gritted his teeth and responded, "Elder, Emperor Xian is aware that you too are of the human race." Zhang Xuan, taken aback, inquired, "Oh, how did you discern this?" Emperor Xian replied earnestly, "I can sense it. I earnestly request the elder to impart the methods for channeling the fortune of the human race." Bowing deeply again, he added, "I seek this not for myself, but solely for the future of humanity, that our fortune may endure for countless eons. The human race has been schemed against by the celestial saints and oppressed by the heavenly order. Humanity has yet to awaken from its slumber, destined to remain eternal slaves to the heavenly order. I cannot bear to see the human race suffer such indignity for countless generations." With a thud, Emperor Xian fell to his knees, tears of blood streaming from his fierce eyes. "I cannot bear to witness the human race being manipulated by the saints, suffering disasters, wars, and calamities. The celestial saints regard humanity as mere ants, as tools, sacrificing us in their struggle for fortune." Boom. A surge of momentum erupted from Emperor Xian. The human race is the protagonist of the heavenly order. How can we be reduced to mere tools and slaves of the saints? We must strive for self-improvement, and we shall not fear any challenge. I humbly beseech you, esteemed elder, to impart the methods of manipulating the fortune of the human race to save countless souls from peril." Emperor Xian vowed that henceforth, the fortune of humanity shall endure for countless generations. His words resonated profoundly, striking the very core of those who listened. Zhang Xuan, upon hearing this, sighed softly and replied, "Rise, I shall teach you." For millennia, tasked with the expansion of realms, Zhang Xuan recalled having indeed come across a treatise on the art of harnessing the fortune of humanity. However, the efficacy of this method necessitated a certain artifact for its activation. As one from a later age, Zhang Xuan was acutely aware of how the fortune of humanity would flourish in the future. Were it not for the machinations of the celestial saints, humanity's future would likely have been even more resplendent and glorious. Upon hearing Zhang Xuan's agreement, Emperor Xian's regal form trembled with uncontainable emotion. At that moment, tears welled in his eyes. After enduring humiliation for many years, he was finally on the verge of redeeming his honor. Zhang Xuan then raised his hand, and in the blink of an eye, a staff-like artifact materialized in Emperor Xian's grasp, radiating brilliance. Zhang Xuan proclaimed, This is the staff of the ancestor of humanity, a rare treasure of the human realm. With this staff, you can manipulate the fortune of humanity. Go and contemplate beneath the Tao tea tree. Having spoken, Zhang Xuan paid no further heed to Emperor Xian and leisurely departed the estate, fishing rod and basket in hand. Thank you, venerable elder. Emperor Xian bowed deeply. Thus, he remained within the Lingyun Manor, dedicating each day to understanding the staff of the ancestor of humanity. One day, while in deep contemplation, Emperor Xian suddenly fell to the ground, his eyes ablaze with fury as he let out a wrathful roar. Who dares to defy my will? Execute Mei Bo and gouge out the eyes of Empress Jiang. Emperor Xian writhed on the ground, appearing deranged, his expression one of torment, his eyes bloodshot. A violent, tempestuous aura emanated from him. Big brother, what has happened to Emperor Xian? Nuan gasped in shock and inquired. Mengmeng exclaimed, this is dire. Surely, Emperor Xian's mind has been affected by the imprint of Zhuan Ti, that vile bald monk. Nuan swiftly summoned father. Oh yes, sister. Mengmeng urged Emperor Xian to consume a spiritual fruit, though its effect was minimal. Shortly thereafter, Zhang Xuan and Nuan returned. Father, please look at Emperor Xian. Mengmeng implored. Zhang Xuan nodded and extended his hand, a beam of white light descending into Emperor Xian's mind. In an instant, the saintly imprint within Emperor Xian's consciousness was obliterated. He emerged from his deranged state, regaining clarity. Thank you, venerable elder. Emperor Xian expressed his gratitude. Zhang Xuan replied, I have removed the imprint of Zhuan Ti. From this point forward, your path is your own to tread. Yes, esteemed elder. Emperor Xian responded. As time swiftly passed, 2 years elapsed. Emperor Xian had roughly mastered the art of manipulating the fortune of humanity. Aware that it was time for him to depart, he approached Zhang Xuan to convey his intentions. Esteemed elder, a nation cannot survive a single day without a sovereign. Xian stated, I have been away from Chaoga for quite some time, and I fear that unforeseen events may arise. Thus I have come to respectfully resign from my duties. Father, I wish to accompany Xian to Chaoga. Mengmeng exclaimed. I want to go too. Nuan shouted in agreement. In the western lands, on Mount Shumi, Zhuan Ti, who had been meditating in silence, suddenly opened his eyes, his brow furrowed in concern. Junior brother, what troubles you? Asked Jie, noticing Zhuan Ti's change in demeanor. Chapter 22. Daji becomes Emperor's senior brother. The primordial imprint I had inscribed within Xian's essence has been erased, Zhuan Ti said, his expression grave. Upon hearing this, Jie was taken aback, exclaiming, erased? How is that possible? Has Xian, the human king, awakened? Zhuan Ti shook his head. No, Xian has not awakened. Jie, puzzled, inquired, then what could be the reason? Could it be that other saints assisted Xian in erasing it? Yet that did not seem plausible. Jie continued. As for the other saints, Nuwa would never aid Xian, she would rather see him perish. With the onset of the Fengshan calamity, the Chan school is destined to rise, and Yuanshi would not dare to take unnecessary actions at this juncture. As for the saint of Taiji, he is always aligned with Yuanshi, thus he too would be unlikely to intervene. Might it be Tongtian? Zhuan Ti pondered in silence for a long while before replying. The master of Tongtian is known for his rebellious nature. Although the Chan and Jie sects are in competition, given Tongtian's disposition, he would disdain engaging in such petty maneuvers. Moreover, if it were indeed Tongtian, I would have sensed it, yet there has been no sign. Listening to Zhuan Ti's analysis, Jie fell into deep thought. If none of the saints were responsible, then who could it be? Could it perhaps be Daozu? However, as soon as this thought emerged, Jie dismissed it. With the Fengshan calamity unfolding, the Chan school on the rise, the Yinshang dynasty in decline, and humanity facing severe oppression, it was a prevailing trend that could not be altered. Daozu Hongjun would not engage in such superfluous actions at this time, as it would offer him no advantage and could even invite backlash from the calamity. Erasing the imprint left in Xian's essence, given Xian's brilliance and prowess, would only serve to slow the pace of the Fengshan process. The heavenly Dao would naturally grow displeased with Hongjun. Hence, Daozu Hongjun could not be foolish enough to undertake such a reckless act. So who could it be? Both Jie and Zhuan Ti found themselves at a loss. Junior brother, this matter is indeed perplexing, Jie said, his brow furrowed. After a moment of contemplation, Zhuan Ti remarked, Senior brother, perhaps it was merely the aura of the human king that inadvertently triggered my restrictive imprint, leading to the erasure of the primordial mark. Ultimately, Zhuan Ti conceded. Now that the deer platform has been completed, Xian has become infamous among the Yinshang and the human race, inciting the wrath of both mortals and deities alike. My ambitions for the East have been fulfilled. Whether the imprint in DXIN's essence is erased or not has become less significant. As long as the outcome results in DXIN losing the support of the people and chaos erupting within Yinshang, his demise will inevitably follow. The discourse of Zhuan Ti was filled with wisdom, and upon hearing it, Jie nodded and remarked, "Junior brother, your words bear great significance. Now, we must patiently await the conflict between Yin and Shang, as well as the construction of the Fengshan platform on Mount Qi by Jiangxia, after which the disciples of the Chan and Jie sects shall descend the mountain. The West has always been barren, lacking in both populace and resources. Thus, the opportunity to establish the Fengshan is a splendid chance to seize the moment. As saints of the West, how could Jie Yin and Zhuan Ti remain indifferent? The scheme against DXIN serves two purposes, to calculate against Nuwa and to scheme against Yuanshi. Behind the Jie sect stands the Primordial Master, who wields the four swords of the extermination of immortals, capable of establishing the extermination sword array, which only the four saints can dismantle. When the battle at the boundary marker occurs, Yuanshi will undoubtedly request Jie Yin's intervention. In this manner, Yuanshi will owe karmic ties to the West. And once the Fengshan is concluded, the Buddhist teachings will flourish. This encapsulates the plans of the two saints of the West. Thus, Jie Yin and Zhuan Ti cease to dwell on this matter, directing their disciples to await the opportune moment to descend the mountain. Meanwhile, DXIN took his leave from Zhang Xuan, accompanied by Mengmeng and Nan, heading straight for Chaogu after departing from Lingyun Manor. Upon arriving at Chintang, Mengmeng expressed, "DXIN, I wish to visit General Li. Please take Nan to Chaogu first. I shall join you shortly." DXIN replied, "Very well." He then proceeded with Nan to Chaogu, while Mengmeng rode her 9-spirit steed towards Chentang Pass. Along the way, Nan joyfully admired the landscapes of the human realm, exclaiming with delight, "This is so much fun." It was indeed her first descent from the mountain. And being a child, how could she not feel a sense of novelty and curiosity? Observing this, DXIN smiled gently and said, Nan, Chaogu is even more delightful." "Really? That is wonderful." Nan's eyes sparkled with excitement. Subsequently, DXIN harnessed the aura of the human king and guided Nan directly towards Chaogu City. At this moment, in Chaogu, upon the deer platform, which had only recently been completed, the grand sacrificial ceremony was underway, presided over personally by Deji. During DXIN's absence of 2 years, Deji had seized power, and throughout the court, her name invoked fear. She boldly proclaimed herself the Empress of the Shang, and although the officials were furious, they dared not voice their discontent due to her overwhelming influence. For 2 years, Deji ruled Chaogu with even greater arrogance than before. Now, she ascended the deer platform, clad in imperial robes, accompanied by the treacherous Fei Zhong and Yuhan. Baigan watched the three with trembling fists. When DXIN departed, he entrusted Chaogu to Baigan, but faced with Deji's formidable power and being alone and vulnerable, how could he possibly contend with her and her cohorts? With the deer platform completed, Deji shamelessly aspired to declare herself empress, which only intensified Baigan's fury. At that moment, Deji settled onto the throne atop the deer platform, casting her gaze over the gathered officials. Fei Zhong and Yuhan, well aware of Deji's ambitions, were the first to kneel and proclaimed, "We pay homage to the Empress." Fei Zhong Yuhan opened his mouth, instantly shocking the ministers of Chaoga. What did Fei Zhong Yuhan mean? Is Daji going to declare herself Empress? A tumult of emotions surged within the crowd. Witnessing Fei Zhong Yuhan kneeling and proclaiming the title of Empress, while the others remained unmoved, Daji was filled with fury. "Nonsense. What do you mean by this? Am I unworthy of being Empress? Kneel down at once." With a sharp reprimand, the ministers exchanged glances, afraid to speak. Daji coldly continued, "When the great king ventured out for leisure, it has now been 2 years without his return. He must have perished. As it is said, a nation cannot be without a ruler for a single day. Being the queen, and with no successor to the throne, it is my destiny to ascend as empress." The ministers fell into a heavy silence upon hearing her words. Baigan, filled with righteous anger, stepped forward, pointing at Daji and rebuking her. "Daji, even if the king has no heir, it is not for you to decide. It should be Wei Zi, or myself, Baigan, who are of royal blood." Daji's face flushed with indignation. "You vile woman, have you not already caused the death of Empress Jiang and many loyal ministers? Now you audaciously seek to usurp the throne and disrupt our Yinshang dynasty. Your heart is truly deserving of punishment. Do you not understand that the heavens are clear, and justice is inevitable? If the king has indeed perished, in the afterlife, he will surely consume your flesh. Biyun scolded vehemently, unafraid. At that moment, Daji's expression turned as dark as the depths of water, her murderous intent palpable. Biyun, you old scoundrel. Daji gritted her teeth and cursed, for annihilating my fox clan. Today I shall feed your flesh to the dogs. Biyun, upon hearing this, laughed heartily, tears streaming down his face. Huh? Daji, you admit to being a fox spirit? How ridiculous. A mere fox dares to aspire to be the empress of humanity. It is utterly absurd. Daji was suddenly struck with alarm, realizing her identity had been exposed. In her fury, having consumed wine before the Lu Tai, a fox tail emerged, followed by 2 fox ears. Witnessing this scene, Fei Zhongyuan trembled, never having imagined that Daji was indeed a fox spirit. In that moment, not only he, but all the ministers were horrified, their souls seemingly escaping their bodies. Unable to believe that the governance of the Yinshang dynasty had been manipulated by a fox spirit. Biyun, I shall end your life. Daji recognized that words were futile at this point. In a fit of rage, she no longer concealed her true nature, her long claws emerging as she lunged towards Biyun. With a loud crash, Biyun was left bloodied and mangled. The ministers, witnessing this horrific spectacle, were filled with dread, their spirits shattered. Among them, the valiant King Huang Feihu stepped forward, voicing his outrage. Daji, you vile woman. How dare you publicly execute the Prime Minister of Yinshang? With a swift motion, Huang Feihu drew his sword, charging at Daji. Seeing this, Daji's fury ignited. A surge of malevolent energy swept through, and in an instant, Huang Feihu was left disoriented, collapsing beneath the steps of the altar. Daji, still not satisfied, sought to take Huang Feihu's life. At that moment, Fei Zhong, realizing the gravity of the situation, hastily intervened, saying, Your Majesty, please, do not. Daji, baring her fangs, glared at him in fury, retorting, What reason do you have to oppose me? Fei Zhong replied, Biyun is a loyal minister. The emperor has already lost the hearts of his court. Should you slay Biyun as well, it would incite further unrest among the populace. Upon hearing this, Daji relented. She then cast her enchanting gaze over the assembled ministers and declared with a commanding voice, I shall spare Huang Feihu for now. Once I ascend the throne, I shall subject him to a most cruel fate. She continued, I am destined to be the empress of the Yin and Shang. Is there anyone among you who dares to dissent? The courtiers fell into a profound silence, observing their reticence. Daji smirked and proclaimed, Your silence shall be taken as acquiescence. With that, she elegantly strode to the throne and commanded, You all shall kneel and pay your respects to me. The ministers, sensing her formidable presence, reluctantly complied and prepared to bow. Daji, you cunning seductress, how dare you claim the title of Empress of Humanity? What audacity do you possess? Just then, a voice, imbued with authority, resonated through the assembly. The courtiers trembled at its sound. Even Daji quivered, for this voice was all too familiar. It was Dxin. He had returned. Swiftly, countless gazes converged upon a figure of imposing stature, exuding a commanding aura. Who else could it be but Dxin? The ministers quaked in fear, and Daji shuddered, her heart in turmoil. What was happening? Dxin was alive? In an instant, Daji's complexion drained of color, her heart racing with trepidation. The ministers rejoiced. Quickly kneeling, we pay our respects to the king. We welcome your return. Daji, trembling, also knelt, murmuring, Your servant greets the king. Yet her voice was markedly diminished. Dxin cast a cold gaze upon Daji, stating, Daji, or rather, you should be called a vixen. While I was absent, you thrived, did you not? Daji's face turned ashen, responding, Your Majesty, I dared not. Dxin chuckled darkly, Dared not? You have donned the imperial robes and still claim to have no courage? Had I arrived a moment later, you would surely have claimed the throne for yourself. Your Majesty, forgive me, Daji implored, bowing deeply until her forehead bled from the impact. I only wished for the realm to have a ruler. Without you, chaos would ensue in the Yin and Shang. Thus, I took the audacious step of declaring myself empress to restore order. I have only your interests at heart. I beseech you to see my intentions. At that moment, Huang Feihu regained consciousness and interjected, Your Majesty, Daji is indeed a vixen who disrupts the court. You must not heed her words. Although he was aware that Dxin favored Daji, he understood that his counsel would likely fall on deaf ears. After all, did one not witness the fates of Du Yuanshi, Mei Bo, and Shang Rong? However, much like Biyun, Huang Feihu is wholly devoted to his country, unafraid to sacrifice himself for righteous counsel. Upon hearing Huang Feihu's words, Daji secretly regretted not having eliminated this insolent individual at that moment. Your Majesty, I have served you for many years. How could you not be aware of my heart? Daji spoke, weeping like a pear blossom in the rain, a sight that evoked pity. Had it been the previously bewitched Emperor Exine, he might have been ensnared once more, favoring Daji and harming the capable. Yet, at this moment, Emperor Exine's true spirit had been cleansed by Zhang Xuan. His mind was lucid, and he had already mastered the aura of the king of humanity. How could he be deceived by Daji? Emperor Exine chuckled and said, Daji, since you aspire to the throne, I shall relinquish it to you. Though I fear you may not be able to bear the weight of such power. At his words, Daji was momentarily stunned, as were the courtiers. Huang Feihu silently exclaimed, What a foolish monarch. After 2 years, we almost forgot that he, Emperor Exine, remains a fool. In an instant, Daji was filled with joy and asked, Is your majesty's statement sincere? Emperor Exine smiled and nodded, indeed. With that, he stepped aside, maintaining his composure. The curious young girl who had followed him peeked from behind, asking, Oh, Emperor Exine, is she truly a fox spirit? She doesn't seem like one. She looks like a beautiful older sister. Emperor Exine replied with a smile, My dear, the more beautiful the woman, the less trustworthy she is. The girl bounced over to Daji, scrutinizing her before leaping up and shouting, Monster, reveal your true form at once. Bang! Daji was struck hard on the face by the girl. The force of the blow made Daji cry out in pain, curling up on the ground, revealing her true form as a pure white, nine-tailed fox. Wow, a white-furred fox. How beautiful, the girl exclaimed, her eyes sparkling as she revealed her tiny tiger teeth and declared, I have decided. You shall be my first pet. At this, Daji felt a mix of embarrassment and fury, cursing inwardly, What an insolent little wretch, daring to make me your pet. But I shall not engage with you now. Once I ascend to the throne, I will chop you into pieces and serve you in a cauldron. Come here, young one, Emperor Exine beckoned. The girl ran to his side, and he lifted her into his arms, saying, Want a pet? Patience, let us first enjoy the spectacle. The girl watched with wide, curious eyes. Daji, do you not desire the throne? Quickly, swear to the people that you shall be the empress of humanity, Emperor Exine urged, a glimmer of amusement in his gaze. At his words, Daji was overjoyed. Today, it is you who will dig your own grave, she thought, eagerly approaching the throne and proclaiming, I, Daji, swear before the people to become the empress of humanity. Suddenly, the heavens roared and lightning flashed, as if in response. Witnessing this, Daji's heart swelled with delight, her eyes gleaming with madness. And at that very moment, as Daji made her vow, all the saints were stirred. In an instant, their gazes converged upon Chowga, fixating on Daji. What is happening? Has the nine-tailed fox gone mad, vowing to become the empress of the human race? Both Kunni and Jane were astonished. At Taishan, the Taiji sage was similarly awakened, though his expression remained largely unchanged, merely curling his lips in a faint, sardonic smile. He mused, Such a mere seductress from the lower realms, ignorant of the heavenly decrees, arrogantly proclaiming herself as the empress of humanity. Truly, she knows not the peril she invites. In the Nuwa palace, the goddess Nuwa was also disturbed. Her eyes shimmered with divine light as they fell upon Chowga. In a heartbeat, her expression shifted. Soon, fury engulfed her. Damn it! How dare that foolish Daji? How could she disgrace herself so? At this very moment, Daji's visage was consumed by madness. Once I become the empress of humanity, surely the goddess will be pleased? I have exceeded my mission. Not only ensnaring DXIN, but also seizing the imperial throne of the human race. Thunder rumbled in the heavens, lightning flickering relentlessly. Yet, Daji remained oblivious to the fact that this was not a recognition from the path of humanity affirming her claim, but rather a brewing retribution, a divine punishment. To swear allegiance to the path of humanity is no trivial matter. To claim the title of empress requires the baptism of heavenly wrath. However, with merely a millennium of cultivation, how could Daji withstand such punishment? Even if she could endure it, the karmic repercussions were beyond her capacity to bear. At that moment, the heavens had completed their preparation for retribution, and amidst the astonished gazes of countless onlookers, the punishment descended directly upon Daji. Upon witnessing this, Daji was struck with terror, her soul nearly leaving her body. This is not recognition from the path of humanity. This is retribution. She shrieked, her heart racing with fear. Goddess, save me. Suddenly, Daji cried out once more in desperation. Hearing Daji's pleas, Nuwa was filled with overwhelming rage. This wretched creature, if you perish, so be it. But why drag me into your demise? Yet, Nuwa found herself compelled to intervene. After all, Daji had acted under her command, seducing DXIN. Should she refrain from acting, dire consequences would ensue. Reluctantly, Niwa unleashed a beam of crimson light, enveloping Daji in protection. Niwa understood that such an action would inevitably provoke a backlash from the will of humanity, yet it was a consequence she had no choice but to accept.